Okay, quick note before we get into the video. I do have a much more uplifting message for each of the signs at the end of this video. So make sure that you go ahead and jump into that using the timestamps below. We also have, or I also created a more kind of collective message of what's happening in the world and what we need to be looking out for as a collective or as a unit. And so that one is a little bit more of like a call to action, kind of focusing on the stuff that's going on right now. So if you are in the mood for something a little bit more uplifting, you can always skip that general message, but I do highly encourage you to listen to it at some point if you want to. So, okay, thank you. Hey guys, I'm Courtney Carson here today to talk about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening on February 20th. And it's taking place at 0 degrees of Aries, which is the first degree of the first sign of the zodiac. So what I've been saying in my previous videos is that I really feel like this is a brand new starting point for us because we are starting from the very beginning of the zodiac. And these two outer planets, these slow planets coming into contact, is going to represent some kind of structural reset that needs to take place within our society, where it really feels like a blank page in a completely new facet of how civilization, especially like structures and governments and traditional institutions, how we go about visualizing them and what we like how we think things should be set up in terms of, again, the traditions and the institutions and the governments and the structures within society. And 0 Aries is this point of conception where we can now start to conceive of a better way of doing things, a different way of doing things. And this is important because often what comes up at this time is a feeling of disillusionment and deep dissatisfaction, where we get to the point where we can no longer tolerate something as how it is anymore. And in particular, it's usually linked with a loss of credibility of the institutions and the government and the traditions and the authorities that we have given power to. We start to, again, lose credibility in them, lose belief in them, become disillusioned in them, and in this case, really start to see the corruption at play. And I think that has been a seed that's been really planted since 2020, when the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, along with Jupiter, took place in Capricorn. Saturn and Neptune together can indicate, especially in the sign of Capricorn, the what's the word I should say for this? Kind of like a contamination or a corruption that happens within the government, and it could start to ramp up or get karmic consequences kind of set into place. And oftentimes people and governments will go into more kind of totalitarian control during Saturn-Pluto conjunctions, and which was again in 2020, which you guys know what happened in 2020. And also it's very common to have a lot of death and loss and all those things. So this was the first start of this new era that we're entering into. It's that thing that kind of pushed us over the edge, where we maybe could have gone in a few different directions. And I think that a lot of the corruption in the government, again, really took place, not just, sorry, I got something in my, not took place at that time, but the beginning of the end in terms of the exposure to that corruption was starting then. And now with Saturn Neptune together, we're getting, in again, February 2026, we're getting this clarity of vision where the veil is peeled back and we're able to see what was going on behind the curtain. And we can see with how things are being treated right now in regards to the Epstein files, where we're basically being gaslit, where the names of the victims are being exposed and not the names of the perpetrators, where the elite are protecting their fellow elite. And people are even wondering if Epstein is even dead. I mean, this Saturn-Neptune conjunction is the definition of this type of event, where we're looking at, again, the things that are behind the scenes, the things that have really been wreaking havoc in terms of corruption, again, especially since 2020, where things likely reach some kind of peak. Now we're seeing it for how it is, and we're realizing that there is no way of improving the existing system because the whole system is corrupt and bad. It's like we can't just like vote our way and have opinions our way out of this, right? We can't just have different parties, and we can't be divided, and we can't be coming at each other when the whole system built by elites for elites is completely contaminated and corrupted to a point that is beyond return. And I think that the divisiveness, again, I think that this seed was planted in 2020. The sense of divisiveness, I mean, you could say that it was just COVID and that began to separate us because we couldn't be in contact. But I think it runs deeper than this. And the narratives that are pushed that divide us further and further and further based off of parties and ideologies and all these things, I think that keeps the people distracted and weak because their attention is focused on one another and not the, again, elites and people in power who are the real dangers to society and to everyday people. And now that Pluto has officially shifted into Aquarius, where it will remain for decades, I think that we're really going to start to understand the full extent of the corruption and the darkness and the criminalization of the last 20 years of Pluto in Aquarius that has taken place. Or sorry, Pluto in Capricorn. And again, Capricorn is a sign of our traditions, our institutions, our government. And so these last 20 years it's been rotting from within. And now that Pluto's in Aquarius, we're starting to see all of it. And the power can come back to the people with Pluto in Aquarius. But also, there can also be a use of, what does Aquarius relate to? Technology. There can be a use of technology that becomes very corrupted. So this is going to be surveillance. This is going to be AI. This is going to be our data sold. Again, surveillance of every capacity, I think, is going to be a huge issue in these next decades to come by the powers that be, and using technology to suppress the people. So this could be censorship on these social media platforms. Again, kind of gaslighting, hiding the truth with things, using technology. Basically, what information can and cannot be seen or shared or understood. What is real, what isn't real for AI or not. And yeah, I mean, anyway, I think that I don't want to go so deep into that rabbit hole, but I'm basically just trying to say that Pluto in Aquarius is going to have the potential for some real benefits in terms of empowering the people, but I think it could equally empower the elites to use technology to abuse the people and silence the people and overpower them. So that's something that we as a collective, need to be aware of. I don't have the solutions for that, honestly. I'm deeply concerned about AI and have been for many years. So this is something I think about a lot. But Pluto shifting into Aquarius in general is heralding a time where people are waking up again, to their own personal power, to the power of the individual, especially now that Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, but also to the power of the collective of individuals that we are, and how we have more of a say than we might realize through our, through our finances, through our choices, through what we say to one another, and how we resist, resist in any capacity. So Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries, to me, signals this disillusionment and with the government, and then potentially part of our lives as well. And I'll probably talk about that in a little bit, but I want to talk about the collective first. So we're feeling this disillusionment with the government, with the structures that be. We are feeling more empowered with Pluto and Aquarius. We're seeing the full corruption that has existed within these structures with the last, few decades or couple of decades with Pluto and Capricorn. And we're at this point where we're again realizing that the government is not salvageable, and we need to have a completely fresh start with this 0 degrees of Aries, something that has, again, never been done before. And Aquarius, where Pluto is all about progress and innovation and advancing us through evolution in society. Like when the internet was invented, it creates this level or this capacity for connection that is unprecedented, that has completely changed the landscape of society. And there is going to be some kind of further progress like that is initiating now with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And again, to me, this whole cycle really started back with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction at the start of COVID. It was kind of setting up the point of degradation, and now we're reaching a point of a catalyst, basically. Especially because Aries is a cardinal sign, it's a fire sign, and this is a sign known for action, for confrontation, for war. So people are going to be willing to fight back. People are going to be willing to make a stand, but not everybody, because for some, Saturn-Neptune will incapacitate them. For those who become so disillusioned that they become depressed or disempowered, they might feel passive. But for many of us, I think the Saturn-Neptune is going to be a moment of personal awakening. And again, really tuning into our personal power and our ability to fight back and push for something that we believe is critical right now. And I saw somebody said in my comments the other day that they think that people aren't going to push back on this, and that the elites will stay in power and that nothing will change. And I mean, I can't say for sure anything in the future will or won't happen. But I do think that we are beginning a cycle where change is possible. The last time that Neptune was in Aries was during the Civil War. It moved into Aries and the Civil War started in the US. So Neptune just moved back into Aries. Saturn has now joined it. We're seeing a cyclical pattern here of unrest. And the last time this planet Neptune was in this sign, there was war because of unrest, because of ideological differences, of course, around slavery. And now a lot of these themes and patterns are coming back in regards to immigration, and of course, in regards to things like the Epstein files. I mean, there's honestly so many things going wrong right now. The recession, just a lot of struggles. And so I do think that we're going to reach a point where people, again, are going to be willing to fight back. And the last time that Saturn was in Aries, so that's the last time Neptune was in Aries, Civil War in the US. Last time Saturn was in Aries was when the Taliban seized control over Afghanistan, and there were also some protests happening in Hong Kong or in China. So, I mean, again, we can kind of always look back and see points of time where people are in conflict. That's just really common in human history. But one of the biggest things about Aries is war. So with both of these major slow-moving planets coming into contact in Aries, I just think war is very possible. And what war looks like is going to be really different in 2026 than it was back in 1996, the last time Saturn was in Aries. Especially with Mars, the ruler of Aries, being in the sign of Aquarius when Saturn and Neptune come conjunct. This is going to flavor the event of Saturn and Neptune. And it is going to make it have both Aries and Aquarius themes because of Mars being in that sign. Aquarius again rules technology. So war might look like a war of information, a war of technology, or online resistance, or something around energy, electricity. I mean, the idea of Aquarius is that it might not look like it does traditionally. So that's something else to consider right now. What is the level of fight and conflict and war that we might go through in a year like this? How do people find resistance instead of maybe taking up arms like they used to? So that's something that I think is really important to consider. The last time that we had Saturn and Neptune conjunct in the sign of Aries was all the way back to 1703. So it's been hundreds of years since these two planets were aligned in the sky in this sign, and not even at the first degree of this sign. That's even rarer. So the last time they were conjunct in 1703, Charles II of Spain passed away, basically leaving a throne empty because he had no children, and this began a whole war of succession. And there was also Queen Anne's War going on at that time. Again, two more examples of fighting, of conflict, of war. So we're seeing this pattern repeat itself. And so again, I think that we could have something like that now. And the thing about this conjunction is I'm not saying that on the 20th war is going to outbreak. But what I'm saying is that it's going to initiate a cycle where there may be some event. It could be the Epstein files. It likely is that, but maybe something else will happen. But regardless, it's going to have some kind of event that kicks off the fighting spirit with people and that resistance that is going to take place for many years. The wars that were going on at that time that I mentioned were lasting over a decade. So I do think that we're going to have conflict that is, again, really kicked off now through an event, but it's going to slowly build into something major instead of it being an overnight thing, which it could be an overnight thing, but it's a longer cycle than that. If it happens overnight, it will take place longer than one night, of course. So previously, we also had Saturn and Neptune conjunct sooner than that to where we are now, but it was in different signs. So in previous cycles, Saturn and Neptune were conjunct in Capricorn, and that was when the fall of the Berlin Wall occurred. We also had Saturn and Neptune conjunct during the death of Stalin and the end of the Korean War. And then, of course, the time I mentioned where it was in Aries. So basically how these cycles work with planets, you want to look at when they come into the sky conjunct, which is next to each other. So that's happening again on February 20th, Saturn and Neptune are coming together, 2026. And then they come to 90 degrees apart and they make their first square to each other, which is another kind of critical moment within the life cycle of these planets and their relationship. And that is going to happen in September 2033. And then they come opposite each other, so 180 degrees apart. And Saturn is the one really moving the most because it's a faster planet. It will come opposite of Neptune in 2052, in 2042. And then it will make its final square, again, 90 degrees apart, on April 2052. And then it will rejoin in June 2061. So the full Saturn and Neptune cycle that is kicking off in a few days from now, at the time of this recording, isn't going to wrap up until 2061. It doesn't mean that we're going to be dealing with the same exact issues for this whole time, but it does indicate that we're going to be experiencing similar themes of really having to fight for maybe a sense of independence or to push for our rights as people and to lay a new foundation that is going to take until 2061 to really start to gain some momentum, or some roots, I should say. So there is a larger theme that is going to be taking place over this basically 3 decades. So that's helpful to keep in mind. And typical things that happen during Saturn-Neptune squares or oppositions are, again, going to kind of tie in the themes of questioning the credibility of our existing institutions, our existing laws, our existing governments. An illusion of how things are is going to collapse. We can experience cultural disillusionment and see the scandal and the corruption within the current systems that we're upholding or a part of. So examples of this, we had Neptune-Saturn opposition in 2007, and then shortly after, in 2008, the real estate market collapsed. So we saw that kind of that disillusionment of, oh, we think it's one way, and then it's a complete opposite way. In 1999, we had a square between these planets, and we had the Columbine shooting. In 1972, during another opposition, we had the Watergate scandal take place. And then 1965, we had a lot of people questioning what we're doing with the Vietnam War. So like kind of like moral and ideological clash between the people and the government's choices. So again, you can really see how things take a downturn at these times, but they are really here just to help us question the things that we maybe are too busy to normally question. So it's a time where we have the opportunity to restructure some form of identity on a collective scale. Like, again, maybe changing the way that we operate as a country, but then also on a personal level as well. So I think that's something, I'm like, should I talk about that now? Okay, before I talk about personal stuff, I want to talk a little bit, there's some more stuff I want to say about the pushback that I think we're really going to see people start to do. So I think 2032, June 2032, when Saturn and Uranus come together, a different planet than we've been talking about, in Gemini, I think we are going to definitely see some major pushback during this time. Uranus as a planet is naturally rebellious and is often involved in like people revolting, basically. So I think that we're really going to see the things that stir up right now, and we're going to start to see people pushing back. I think we're going to see it hit some kind of peak energy in the summer of 2032. And then I also wanted to mention this summer we have the nodes switching signs. So we're going to have the South Node move into Leo, North Node in Aquarius. And this is a time when we're really going to see that divide between the elites, or the people who are famous, the people who have power, the people who have a lot of money, who have a lot of protection, being like in some kind of, again, like elite, almost like royal status. And then we're going to have Aquarius, which is the people, the everyday people, the masses. We're going to really start to see the divide between those and the narrative around that pop up this summer. I mean, we're already starting to see that, especially with this Aquarius eclipse that's taking place today, now that I'm recording this. But we're really going to start to see that even more so when the node shifts signs this summer. So I think that we're going to, and then again, we'll see eclipses along that Aquarius Leo axis following that. So we're really going to start to see people pushing back. I also wanted to mention that the Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening in the US chart is going to be making a square to the US's Jupiter and Venus. So the US chart is a Sag rising, a Sagittarius rising, which means that Jupiter is its chart ruler. Basically, that means that as a Sag rising, Jupiter is really going to describe a lot of how our country operates and also how the outside views the US. So when Saturn and Neptune starts to square Jupiter and Venus, it's going to basically create, first of all, a reset or a facelift of the ideological viewpoints and beliefs of the country in and of itself, because Jupiter is a planet associated with beliefs as well. But it's also going to change the concept and the relationships that external countries have with America. So we're really going to see the potential for peace to erode, especially with Saturn and Neptune being in Aries, which is a sign of conflict. So I think we could experience broken agreements or general discord with other nations. So that's something that we should look out for. Also, an important period of time, we're having Pluto pass over the South Node in Aquarius. And this is going to take place from March of 2027 to November 2028. I'm also not thinking that that's going to be a very good time. I think that that could be a time where some karma can come back around to the United States. So it is possible that other countries take advantage of the weakness of the United States during that time. Or it could be possible that the kinds of issues I was concerned about with Pluto being in the sign of Aquarius, where there's surveillance and technology used against the people, that is a time when that can really run rampant and have negative consequences of the use of surveillance and technology and control of the people during that time. I think given that the South Node is in the second house of this US chart, I think we could see some kind of potential financial collapse during that time. Both the Pluto and the South Node are linked with losses. So there is something that as a country we will lose. And that could be a lot of things. Unfortunately, in February 2029, the South Node will also pass over the sun of the United States. And so we're just going to be going through many years. Really, I feel like from now until 2032, we're going to be going through a lot of years of kind of slow degradation, maybe not even slow, but degradation of the United States to the point where we become quite controlling as a nation. Like maybe the people in power become very overbearing and also financially weakened as a nation and potentially have outside influences affect us. I don't know about that part. But in February 2029, when the South Node passes over the sun, it will weaken us even further. And the last time this happened was in 2010. So this is when we were really going through the throes still of the financial crisis and an oil spill and immigration concerns. So environmental, all the things. So I think we could start to see some of those things getting to us at that time as well. So this is not too, I'm realizing this is all sounding very dystopian and maybe a little bit negative and scary. But I guess I just really think that we're in one of those times where things have to get worse before they get better. I'm sure many of you guys agree with that sentiment. I think that this is something, I saw someone write in one of the comments that this is something that we can't vote ourselves out of. And I completely agree with that. I think that this is a point beyond return. And I think that a lot of people are going to start to get on the same page, because 94% of people are agreeing that there is a lot of, despite the gaslighting being done, people are in agreement on what the Epstein files are about. And I think that we can't agree on anything as people. So if we can agree on that, we have a united front, and we have a similar desire for people to take accountability. The people in power that continue to abuse and take advantage of the people, of us, and of these girls, but it's so much vaster than just them even. But anyway, so I think that the people want them to take accountability. So this is what I'm saying. This is a moment of mobilization as a nation to try to get to try to push back against the lies, the deception, the coercion of the powers that be, and create a new vision for what things could be like and fight for that vision, just like our ancestors did during the Civil War. Last time Neptune was in Aries. We're coming to that point again. And I think especially in 2032, when we have that Saturn-Uranus conjunction, the people are going to be continue to be called to a point of, again, uniting against these individuals or this system that we're in, to dream of something better and to allow for the collapse of this oppressive and corrupted institution that we're under right now. So that was very long-winded. I do want to talk about this on a personal level as well. I just want to write down what time it is. Let's see, 32. On a personal level, the Saturn and Neptune conjunction in Aries really speaks to us having a fresh start in our own lives as well. And I think that what we're really seeing with this Aquarius eclipse is a moment of pattern recognition, so we can observe what cycle we're in, so we could see the hologram through which we are viewing life, or we see our life kind of around us. And it's time to upgrade and change that hologram and to see, again, the cycles and patterns that are outdated. And the Saturn-Neptune conjunction can help us to dream of something better instead of what we've been stuck in. And it could feel like a big overhaul that has to happen, but it also feels like it's unavoidable because we can't keep going like this, right? Like it's almost like, and again, we're all going to experience some level of disillusionment to get to that place where we know something has to change. So maybe we realize that we've been lying to ourselves about something, or we've been overlooking something, or again, kind of gaslighting ourselves or letting others gaslight us. Like there's something about that where we're going to finally look at something and have to take ownership and agency and see it clearly, even if that means that we go through a period of feeling kind of depressed or kind of, again, disillusioned by things not being the way that we would like them to be or would hope them to be. But that is exactly the thing that is going to allow us to create the necessary change in our lives, because we have to go through that feeling to recognize that there's something that we want to do about it again, and to own something more thoroughly. So I think that people could go through a period of kind of like an existential crisis in a way, because Neptune is so commonly involved in existential crises. I feel like I've been going through one for so long because Neptune has been going over my descendant. Anyway, so it's been years of me just questioning everything. And that Saturn-Neptune conjunction can really do that. And sometimes through a negative light, because Saturn can be somewhat of a downer. So we might feel a little bit like depressed. We're like, oh, I'm having all these questions around what's the point of any of this? But it's important that we don't allow ourselves to sit in that energy for long. Because if we experience that, like, it's okay to have moments of that feeling of maybe despair or hopelessness that is, again, quite common with Saturn Neptune. It's okay to feel that, to feel maybe a loss of something in your life or a loss of meaning, or again, questioning many different things. But the ultimate purpose of that is to transcend that and come up with a better way of living your life that is both realistic and idealistic at the same time, like a combination of those two things. We're meant to go through some type of enlightenment, some type of awakening, some type of self-realization around something very, very major, and allow ourselves to reinvent some capacity or some area of our life in a way that, again, wouldn't have been possible unless we really felt the suffering of that, of the dysfunction of that area of our life. It's like an unavoidable moment. And the severity of it is going to really vary from person to person and how it impacts your chart and whatnot. It could be something that you go through, maybe like a crisis or a loss, or great confusion where you're going through a metamorphosis but don't really understand what's on the other side. Or maybe it's something more lighthearted where you're just seeing a pattern and you're recognizing that you've been maybe stuck in that a little too long. But again, it's going to vary for each individual, but it's kicking off a longer cycle of transformation. So we don't have to have it all figured out right now, but there is something that we need to confront, with this being the sign of Aries. Again, take personal responsibility and also have some kind of shift in our sense of identity, because Aries is the sign of the self and the self-concept. So there is a need to change and shift one's identity to align with the new kind of hologram, the new kind of life that you want to lead. And sometimes that means going through a little bit of an identity crisis or an existential crisis around who you even are, at least in one area, in order for you to reconfigure that area of your life. So really, really big deal to have all this going on. But I think I'm going to do like a whole separate video on what this is going to look like for each of the signs. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm thinking about doing a live for that. So if you can attend a live, let me know in the comments down below what time works for you. And I'm also curious how you guys feel like this Saturn-Neptune is showing up in your lives. And also if you have any thoughts to add on what's going, like what we're being called to do right now as a collective. I think it's very important for all of us to put our heads together and to rely on one another and to somehow trust one another. So we need to come together and unite. And I hope that this call to action awakens something in you as well, and that at least on a personal level that you undergo a transformation. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, share with your friends, comment, and I will see you guys shortly. Bye. All right, so first we have Aries, which Saturn and Neptune for you, Aries, are conjunct in your sign. And if you have your sun or your rising at 0 degrees, or even in the first 5 degrees or so, you're really going to feel the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in a big transformative way. If it's on your ascendant, if you're an Aries rising, or your sun too, but especially your rising, you're likely going to have some metamorphosis within the area of either your relationships or within your health and your appearance. If it's on your sun, it's more likely to affect your kind of like career and your direction in life. But either way, there is a change in your self-concept. Saturn and Neptune are coming together to close out some kind of cycle and have a fresh slate or a fresh page from which you can start to write about your life. And I see that with the World card. I think that you guys are going to be able to wrap up a cycle and come to a place of completion, or feeling like you are, you're done with something. You're done with it. You've closed it out. You've taken it all of the way that it can go, and you're ready to go on to a new chapter. So what is this new chapter for Aries spirit? What is this new chapter? If you guys are fearful at all of letting something go and moving into the unknown, this is your reassurance that this is the right decision to do. You might feel at times uncertain of it, but this is absolutely the right thing to do. With the Seven of Wands coming out in regards to your new chapter, I feel like you guys may come into a phase where you are having something to fight for. The Seven of Wands can represent having certain beliefs that are maybe being challenged by the world, but it doesn't even have to be that. It's more so the idea of like conviction to me. And this person seems really at peace with the stressors of the outside world, and they're shining their light out anyway and really staying within their center. So this new chapter of your life, I feel like, is really going to be about you carving out something for yourself within your life. Like maybe you've given a lot of yourself in life to people or to things, or worried about, what others are going to think of you or how it's going to affect things related to other people. But I feel like you guys, you're coming more into, again, your center, your conviction. What do I need right now? What do I really believe is important for the world through myself? So it's like, you're still thinking of others in a way, but not in the way it's like where it's letting you override what you need. It's like, how do I serve myself and the world? What is my special gift, right? What's my special thing? And maybe some of you guys will have better boundaries come up. Maybe you need to be clear on what it is that you need to defend, like maybe some kind of peace or a choice that you're making, or again, a conviction that you have. Yeah. Okay. So we have King of Swords, Four of Wands, and the Justice. So part of this new cycle, I wonder if some of you guys will be more outspoken with the King of Swords and the Seven of Wands. This is very much giving the energy of somebody who is stepping up as like some kind of leader in some way, a spokesperson, somebody who is like, using their kind of beliefs and their conviction, and they're spreading the word, or they're teaching people about it, or they're communicating very clearly what maybe your boundaries are and drawing a line in the sand. There's something very intellectually and emotionally coherent here and in alignment within the self. So it's like, this is very important to me. This is very important to my morals and my values. And I'm going to communicate this, and I'm going to live according to this, and I'm going to teach about this, or I'm going to set a boundary around this to protect this peace, to protect this need. It feels, again, a lot of like coherence. So I think that if people have been, or the world in any way has kind of pulled you off your axis or off your center, I see you really coming into a very strong sense of center, sense of self, and being able to communicate that and protect that very clearly, and being able to define it very clearly. If you've had any kind of feeling of being lost in a certain area of your life, or like even around yourself, again, I feel like you're going to be able to define that very clearly. You're going to be able to understand who you are and what you want clearly. What area of life is this pertaining to, Spirit? Yeah, Saturn and Neptune can often deal with this feeling of disillusionment about the way things are. And maybe you're seeing how in some ways you've had some of your emotional truth muddied by the outside world with the Queen of Cups. Or maybe like haven't always gotten to listen to your own intuition about things. And with the Saturn and a Neptune, I think that you're going to recognize that you can't operate that way anymore. That maybe there's something intuitive or creative or spiritual or emotional that you need to listen to within your body and within your heart, and align your life more with that, because it would be unsustainable or a lie or inauthentic any other way. So one more time, Spirit, what area of life does this have to do with? The Four of Pentacles. This feels very relational, even if it's not relational, but the Four of Pentacles to me is somebody acting from a place of self-preservation. So even if this is like showing up in your career, showing up in other areas of your life, like your finances, because it's Pentacles or whatever, I think that this feels still very relational at its core, because the Four of Pentacles is having to preserve from like the outside world taking from you, or from other people influencing you. Maybe not influencing you, but yeah, like taking from you. And I almost get the sense of like, I have to protect myself. I have to preserve myself. So yeah, this feels like it's a profound shift on how you operate with society, on how you operate in your relationships. And again, maybe it's pertaining to like your career, but it's directly influenced by people, like how you take chances within your career, for example. I hope that makes sense. I feel like there's probably something more there, but okay, so we also have Four of Wands and the Justice card. I feel like you're going to start to notice that when you're living really from your own authentic truth, and again, that kind of heart and mind coherence, I really feel like you guys are going to be entering into a phase of life where you are respected because of that. If you've ever had your boundaries pushed back on, if you've had people, try to misunderstand you or try to coerce you or influence you in some type of way, I feel like people are going to sense your truth, your authenticity, your living in integrity, and your principled nature. And they're going to respect that and mirror to you the boundaries that you set for yourself and with others. They're going to mirror that back to you. And I feel like it's actually going to create a lot more of the sense of ease with the Four of Wands, like ease in compatibility and cooperation, ease in relationships, ease in like the flow of your life. Like things can feel fun, they can feel playful, because you have the necessary containers for each thing to prosper and still feel safe. So yeah, I almost feel like I should probably give an example. Yeah, it's like if you have really clear boundaries around when you start work and end work, then you know how much time you have to just relax and do nothing. Or if you have really clear boundaries on what you are thinking and believing and how you align your behaviors and actions with that, then you don't spend as much time, again, kind of muddied or anxious or trying to figure something out, because your behavior and your thoughts and your heart are all in alignment with one another. So it makes things flow quite easily. And the outside world will also respect and mirror that inner coherence. So if you get people in relationships who have in the past really tested your boundaries, or who have shown up inconsistent, or had some major incompatibilities in terms of beliefs or direction in their life, this is a mirror of the inner incoherence that you may have had in some way. And I feel like that is, again, something that's really clearing up. Like, you're getting very, very clear on who you are, what you believe. You're communicating that. You're setting boundaries around that. You're living according to that. And the relationships around you, again, are going to respect the firmness that you have around who you are. And if you have ignored your feelings and ignored your intuition at any point up until this time, I really feel like it's no longer taking a back seat. That's becoming fully integrated and fully a part of your process. So yeah. Okay. Any last messages, Spirit, for my Aries with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction? I feel like if you've, again, felt disillusioned in relationships, I really feel like that's something that's going to improve greatly. Oh my gosh, I didn't even see this yet. The Lovers and the Hierophant. Yeah, I really feel like if people have let you down, if people have really disappointed you, I think a lot of that was maybe just part of the cycle that you were in at that time. But I'm really getting the sense that, like, you've done maybe some inner work in terms of that alignment. And so people are going to really start to show up different. And the Lovers and the Hierophant, if you guys are struggling with maintaining kind of like commitments with people, like maybe people have kind of come and gone out of your life. Maybe people, again, have showed up inconsistently, or they haven't had that maybe foundation or that rootedness that you need and that kind of stability that you need. I really see that evolving for the better with the Lovers and the Hierophant. I see people showing up 10 toes down. I see people, again, committing to you. And I think a lot of it comes from what I keep saying, that like internal coherence, and also that resonance that you put out. You will attract other people who, because you're in this alignment and you're in this stable phase, like you attract people who are also there. So I'm really getting the sense that you're elevating your relationships to a major degree. So if people leave your life, it's because they cannot match the coherence that you're developing. Just keep in mind, though, you might not wake up and have this mastered. This is a process, but it is kicking off with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and your relationships that leave, again, are kind of clearing the way. They're being plucked out. That's kind of like the visual that I see. It's like somebody in a garden plucking out the weeds or the plants and things that don't belong, that are randomly taking up space and energy in your life. That's going to happen with the wrong types of people. And I really feel like you guys are going to come into attracting the right people and circumstances that align with your coherence. I'm going to say that word a million more times, but that is your word for 2026 for the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And, give yourself some time and patience to see this through, but that's the message I see for you guys. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. I really am curious how this is manifesting for you, and if that aligns with what you're experiencing right now or what's top of mind. I am trying to grow my channel, so I really appreciate any support in that direction. If you want to like the video, subscribe, comment, hype, share, anything like that is greatly appreciated, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Taurus, rising and sun. So for you guys, this Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries is taking place in your 12th house. So if you have any planets around 0 degrees of the cardinal signs, or maybe even the latter degrees of the mutable signs, you will be feeling this the most. So the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So if you have anything around 0 to 5 degrees, again, you're going to feel this the most, especially Aries, of course. So having the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in the 12th is going to be a very spiritualizing influence. The 12th house already has the energy of needing to allow something to dissolve before it can reemerge and be reborn in the first house. It is the house kind of between the physical life and the spiritual life. Well, it's maybe more spiritual than anything, but it represents that type of transition or liminal phase. And Saturn and Neptune together as planets also have that same feeling. When they come together, they're both representative of endings and transitions, and especially with Neptune, like sometimes uncertainty around what's coming through next. But it's often in these periods where we start to develop a greater kind of third eye or crown chakra and kind of open consciousness, because so much of life's energy and shifts and changes happen on the spiritual plane, the energetic and emotional plane during a cycle like this. And so we become quite psychic and quite open, if we allow ourselves to be, of course, because we kind of have to be in order to perceive those subtle changes. So you guys might start to feel and sense that something new is coming in, but you might have a hard time pinpointing what exactly that is. You just kind of get this feeling, and maybe you get this yearning as well, with this being an Aries, a sign of desire. You might get a kind of yearning in the pit of your stomach or in your heart or in your gut, that you're just like, I just really feel like I want this thing, and I feel like this thing is going to come in, but I just don't see how or when, or how, like what needs to shift in the material world for this to work. So there's a lot of kind of this feeling of being quite psychically open and in a state of transition. So Spirit, what does Taurus have to look forward to with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction? What is their fresh start with this being at 0 degrees of Aries? So we have the Empress card. So I have a few messages about that, but let me pull a few more first. The 10 of Cups, stop. I feel like you're definitely going to get some kind of wish fulfilled for you guys. Queen of Swords. And then a clarifier for the Queen of Swords. Clarifier for the 10 of Cups. Okay. So I feel like you guys are really entering this state of oneness that you maybe have been disconnected from. As a Taurus, you guys are very of the material world, or that's part of like your lesson in this life, is to navigate things again on the material plane in some way. Maybe things move slower than you would like them to. Maybe things require a lot of constant effort and maintenance or energy to stabilize. That's something that you've been really focused on as a soul in this lifetime. But I think that part of what's shifting now is that you, again, are becoming more perceptive and aware of the energetic realms and how how it's all interconnected, and how you are interconnected to everything around you on multiple planes of existence, not just the material plane. And so maybe you'll be picking up more things from the collective with a card like this. You feel the world more. Maybe you give birth to an idea, or maybe you're pregnant and you're going to give birth to something like a literal person, or maybe it's a project idea, a concept that is going to be a part of this kind of new wave in the world that is going to make a difference to a next generation. So there's this idea of like, I understand and I'm tapped in to the collective consciousness, and I kind of know what the world needs of me because of that. I feel the needs of the environment, of the ether, of the spiritual realm, and I'm able to channel that into something that I can, again, create or give birth to out in the world that will support the world in some way. And I also think it's something that's going to support you. So I think that this is a two-way street. you are not only becoming more of a channel for the divine, but the inverse is also true, where because you are tapped into that kind of collective spiritual unit that we all are, I think that the universe can also make things more malleable in the material realm to provide for you the resources, the stability, the things that you need in order for you to create this thing or for you to make something happen in your life. So it's almost like because you become more of a tool for the divine also supports you and gives you something that you really need or that you really desire, like some kind of wish fulfillment with the 10 of Cups and the Page of Cups describing it, some kind of wish fulfillment. The Page of Cups really feels like to me something that you've always wanted. This is like very much the innocence of a child. This is somebody who, yeah, they're very like tapped into their own like spirituality. And so I feel like this is something like as a soul that you've craved for a long time. And because you're really tapped into that, you feel your soul strongly. And again, I think the universe can be more malleable with the material realm to present you the opportunities to bring this wish and desire that your soul really longs for. So that's going to be different for a lot of people, but the cups represents some type of emotional fulfillment. For some of you, it could be a relationship. For some of you, it could be, again, the birth of a child. For some of you, it could be some kind of project or, you know, business or world success that is not so much based off of like materiality, and that is coming through for you, but it's just something that you've always, that's something that really emotionally fulfills you. So it's not about leveling up and being a boss babe and even though those things can come to you still, it's more so that you're getting an incredible amount of soul fulfillment and you're like, this is what I was here to do. This is what I've maybe been denying myself up until this point because I had to be practical. I had to work in the material realm and respect that. And now you're starting this new cycle where, again, you just don't have to do that as much for things to come through for you. Because again, I think that you're really being positioned by the universe to be in the correct path at the correct time, for you to be utilized in the best way and for those opportunities to meet you. We also have the Queen of Swords and the Nine of Pentacles describing this. I also think that you are going to be a lot of messages here. I think that one of the things I'm seeing from this is you being very clear, having very like independent thought. So this could be maybe, again, the way that people see the world or the way that society tries to influence us or maybe our family or our friends or whatever. I see you kind of being able to tune that out. So if you previously judged yourself based off of society's standards or maybe something that somebody said to you once, I really get the sense that you are becoming almost like cloistered off from that contamination and pollution of the outside influence and being able to really just know what your truth is without having that, again, corrupted by others and tainted in some kind of way that will take you off your path. I also think that you will have a lot of clear boundaries with this Saturn-Neptune being the 12th. I think that you are going to need more time alone to come up with your ideas, to again, be able to tap into your truth around yourself and your next steps. And so I really see this great sense of independence here. And that doesn't, it's weird that we have this kind of, you're connected to the whole, but that doesn't mean that you're always of the world. You can be connected to the whole while being alone, maybe in a meditative state, right? Like you don't have to be in the hustle bustle of the city. In fact, that can be quite isolating. And so there's something here about being able to sit more in your own energy and have a lot of like clarity and boundaries around yourself, your life, your truth. And I think you're going to come up with really incredible ideas that also add to your financial stability and being able to provide for yourself financially if that has been an issue in the past. If you've been worried about, am I going to be able to, again, make money on my own? I really see this saying, yes, absolutely, you will. And I think, again, a lot of it comes from having a lot of inner clarity, and that comes from maybe saying no to certain things or taking time away, disconnecting, decompressing, and being more in the collective energy and with spirit rather than busy out in the real world. So lots of messages for you guys, but this is a very spiritual experience. I think you're going to be very fulfilled by this, and you're going to start to notice that the more that you kind of take time out for yourself and not try to like be a part of the hustle and bustle, the more things actually start to move for you in profound ways that you probably couldn't have done without this kind of spiritual assist. So that's what I see for you, Taurus. If this resonates, if this is helpful in any way, I would love to hear about that in the comments down below. I really want to hear how you feel like this is showing up in your life. Very psychic energy, so please use your intuition and think about what this means uniquely for you. And again, please share that with me if you feel comfortable. And I would love your support as well. I'm trying to grow my channel, so a like, a subscribe, a hype, a comment, a share, anything is very, very appreciated. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next here, Gemini rising and sun. For you guys, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries is taking place in your 11th house and kicking off a brand new cycle in the area of your community. If you have been feeling, up until this point, disconnected, if you've been feeling alone, if you've been going through transitions within your relationships, within your friendships, if you've felt like you don't belong as much as you would have hoped, or maybe you felt like you haven't found your place yet in the world. Maybe you've been trying to even do something online, and this is in terms of like an online community or finding your tribe, finding your people in some ways that maybe they, again, would follow you online, or maybe it's groups that you're a part of. Maybe that area of your life has felt quite either stagnant or filled with losses and disappointments. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction is really going to create a fresh start for you in this area of your life. And it is going to be because we change something about our perception or about ourselves or about the way that we do things. I would say a lot of it is down to our, like a shift in our identity, because Aries is about the self. So there's some kind of like identity shift that you are going to make that conceptually is going to reframe your life to start to attract very different types of people. And I think that, again, if you have felt this lack of belonging or lack of rootedness in some way within your relationships and your community, I'm really starting to see that evolve and change. And if you guys have an online presence or some kind of business or social media or something like that, that's important to market and to network, I really feel like you are becoming more authentic with the way that you express yourself. I think that you are becoming more innovative, especially as Uranus moves into your sign in, I think it's May, or maybe it's the end of April. But it will be very soon either way. And I also feel like you guys are going to be clear on you as a person, your identity as a person within the frame of your friendships and your online like social media or networking presence. If you have showed up anything but authentic, if you have tried to dim your light, or if you have felt like I can't show all of me, or somehow inhibited, or maybe you didn't want to come off too strong or too this or too that, I really feel like whereas before showing up in that way may have gotten you rejected, I feel like what's changing now is that you're going to be able to show up 110% yourself with all of your quirks, with all of your intensity or eccentricity or lack thereof, if that's the case. And you're going to be able to be met with people who embrace you in open arms. This doesn't mean to say that you're never going to have any conflict and that people won't disagree with you. That's not what I'm saying, because I think that's also just not realistic. But what I'm saying is that you are going to find your place. You are going to make your mark, and you're going to find that it was worth any kind of clash you would get at any point in your life, by being yourself and by making your mark through that authentic expression. And again, it's because you get more bold in who you are and more clear in who you are that you will attract more of that likeness to you through the kinds of people who are like, I love exactly all of you. So what are you getting with this? 6 of Wands, 4 of Wands. I think that you guys are growing in popularity. I really do. So this could be popularity through any kind of means, because the 11th house, again, is a very public facing house, and it can very much deal with some kind of like audience. So if you are looking, like if you're looking for star power and presence and audience and impact, again, especially online, but this could really be in any like facet of community, external living, you will find that. And I think you will actually be partying a lot more, or like having more fun in certain ways. Like if you've been really isolated, or if you've been going through a lot of process of grieving, or if you've had a lot of really major transitions and you felt kind of maybe lethargic or confused about your life, I feel like your energy is really going to start to shift, at least when it comes to the people that you surround yourself by and the invitations that you get. I think that you're going to start seeing that people reach out to you, or that you have an opportunity to travel somewhere or do something that feels like really exciting and really fun. So I'm getting this sense of maybe adventure and like, yeah, excitement and stimulation and popularity. I think more people are going to be reaching out to you, or recognizing you, or complimenting you, or respecting you for who you are. So I just think it's going to be more fun, honestly, like more warmth is the sense with these wands. These are 2 fire cards. These fire cards are creative. They're inspired. They're excited and stimulated. So I feel like all these things are going to start to evolve for you within the area of your connections. This could also be about like your future goals as well, like really starting to feel some pieces slide into place and feeling like you're getting some clarity on maybe some long-term goals that you have, or like some next steps that you can take, at least in regards to those. I feel like you guys might get some affirmations from the outside world or from the universe saying, yes, you're on the right path, or maybe this is something that you can try. And like, I don't know, I'm just getting this idea of like something finally like sliding into place. If you guys have ever had a car that has like, you know, a manual like seat, how you can like, you pull that thing up on the bottom, the lever, and you like move the seat forward or back. I feel like you've kind of been like an in-between, and then you're kind of locking into place. So there's something about this that I think is almost like creating, like being more in the zone, being more maybe committed to something, having something stabilize or like hold you in some kind of container, so that you can then burst forth. Right. So I don't know. So maybe that's like that you find a really good friend group, or maybe you find that goal and you know your plan now, and now you can just lock in and go. Or now you just have those people that you can call up and do stuff with, and you don't have to like worry about, you know, being bored. Like that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. And remember that this is going to take time. This is a cycle that lasts for like, what is it, 30 years? I already forgot my notes. But yeah, this is going to take some time. So give yourself that space. Oh, guys, we got the Tower and the Star. Yeah, this really speaks to the message of that I've had kind of starting off, where you might have had some major losses in your life, or you maybe have experienced like huge disappointments within the area of relationships. Maybe you have felt always a little bit lonely, or always a little bit socially misunderstood, or maybe not. Maybe you've been really great, but then you've had really amazing people move away or abandon you or suddenly leave your life, or a breakdown of connections in some way. But I feel like all of that pain is now being transmuted into the Star card, where you're going to be able to find a sense of hope again. You're going to start to be able to heal those events of the past. And again, I think you're going to attract a much higher caliber of friendship, of connection, of relationship. This can even speak to romantic and familial relationships as well, though that is less of an emphasis. This is a little bit more about friendship and community. But still, I think that if you guys have been betrayed, hurt, like left behind, ignored, not understood, anything like that, I really feel like you could have emotionally been weighed down by that. And I'm just really getting the sense that that's all that weight is being thrown off. Maybe not all at once. Maybe it'll take some time. But I really, really feel this levity, this like sincerity, this sense of playfulness, excitement. And it just feels so like the sun has risen, right? The sun has finally risen. I get this sense of renewal in this area of my life that has maybe been very long and hard for so long. Okay, anything else, Spirit, for my Gemini risings and suns? This could also be in terms of, again, goals, because the 11th house can also be goals. Like if you've had a specific thing that you've been working towards for a really long time, and maybe it just fell through, or you felt like the path wasn't lining up for you and it was continuous, continual disappointment after continual disappointment. I see that there is like the sun starting to peek through the clouds and you're like, okay, I'm finally starting to get some results. I'm finally starting to get some answers, some clarity, and feeling like things are improving and I can believe that this dream is possible again. So, okay, anything else for Gemini, Spirit? With the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Oh, okay, so we have the 10 of Cups and Queen of Pentacles. Oh my God, everybody's getting such good cards. This is so beautiful. When I think of the Queen of Pentacles, I think of somebody who is a nurturer, but in an emotional and like physical sense. And if you have been, and the 10 of Cups is like pure wish and emotional fulfillment, like the absolute max amount of contentment that you can have. So there's something here about your life stabilizing and people taking care of you in a way that really fills up your cup and is mutually beneficial for both parties. This is also getting the sense of like, I can receive, I can be taken care of, I can also take care of them. It feels very, mutually beneficial, like self-sufficient, like I can pay for myself, I can take care of myself, I can do this, but I also attract people who show up like that as well. And so we both are able to pour into one another because there's this sense of stability on both sides. This could also be talking about finally having some kind of wish come in relationship with like either finances or home or family. So there might be some kind of like career development that stabilizes that area of your life where you finally feel like I'm making some real progress in my career, or I am finally able to set down roots, or I finally met somebody that is really amazing that is going to be my family unit, my support system. And that can, again, also extend to your friendship groups where you're like, I finally found my people and I can really put down roots here and feel nourished in this place in my life. So for some of you, it could be financial. For some of you, it's more emotional, but I think it's probably both, with both of these cards being involved. And if it is financial, it is going to lead to emotional fulfillment and vice versa. So that's really what I'm seeing for you, Gemini, some major healing coming through in your relationships. And I think that life is starting to feel like the sun is rising and the ice is melting, and you can be excited about the connections that you're making now. So I really hope that this is beneficial for you and resonates for you. If it does, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to also support my channel. I am trying to grow it this year. So if you want to be a part of that, you can like, you can hype, you can comment, you can subscribe. That's the biggest thing, or share with a friend. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, my sign of Cancer, rising, and sun. This Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries is taking place in your 10th house of career and ambitions and life goals and our sense of direction. And these two planets coming together really help us come into a soul alignment. Often they can come on the back of feeling disillusioned by some area of our life, but I'm getting the sense that you are ready to throw that dissatisfaction and disillusionment to the curb and embrace a greater sense of soul purpose within your life direction, within your goals, within your ambitions and career. So if you've been kind of stuck in some kind of career that hasn't felt quite right, or maybe you've felt really held back by your own inhibitions, or maybe you went about your career in an energetically wrong place, like maybe you were pushing and striving when you should have been flowing and trusting, or maybe you were not taking enough initiative, or not having enough, self-belief and ambition, or not taking certain risks, or it's going to be so different from person to person, but these are just some examples of ways that you could be out of alignment with your soul, even if you're in the right career path, because there's so many different there's so many different things that we can do. We can set the wrong goals. We can approach those goals in the wrong way. We can not believe in ourselves enough. And I feel like whatever is going wrong amongst those ingredients is going to be able to be transformed at this time and transcended. And Aries is a cardinal fire sign. So there's a lot here around being able to be like gassed up. Definitely that sense of like ambitiousness is coming through, even if you're retired. I'm getting this feeling of like, I want to get up and go. I want to maybe explore the world in this way. Or maybe if you're retired, it's like, I'm going to go learn a language at 65 and go to France for the summer. Or I'm going to go make these new strides in my career. But this is 0 degrees of Aries. So there's something totally fresh here, something that you haven't done before, or you haven't approached it in this way. So maybe you're setting a completely different type of goal, or again, approaching your career and your goals in a completely different type of way. And it's revolutionizing your life in a major, major way. The 10th house can also represent our public standing, our reputation, how the world sees us, how the world knows us. So sometimes people will have major transitions here, like they will become married and their last name will change, and the world sees them through that new light, through that new visage. Is that a word? Am I saying that correctly? But this can also represent like you publicly showing the world maybe a different side of your face. If you're always showing your profile, maybe you're facing it head on, because Aries is all about the identity and our self-concept. And with Saturn-Neptune here, I feel like we're really, really here on a soul level to own our entire self-concept, and not in a public-facing way, in a career or goal-oriented way, to fully own all of it. So if you were like a very spiritual person before, but you never allowed yourself to, publicly announce that or pursue a career like that, I can see you guys fully owning and embracing that side of yourself. Or maybe you have another side of yourself that's completely different, but I really see you kind of like stepping forward with that foot and leading with it, and be like, like if I were afraid of saying I'm an astrologer, for example, that would be me greeting the world and saying, hey, I'm Courtney or Carson, and I'm an astrologer. So there's something like that of like proudly owning more of who you are and aligning your goals, your intentions, your ambitions, your decisions with that self-concept that has always been there, but that you're fully opening up to now as a soul. That you're like, I cannot go further without addressing the fact that I am this way. This could even be like, oh, I'm gay and I'm coming out as gay. Maybe not the best example, because that might be more of like a 7th house thing or 8th house thing or 5th house thing. But there's something about like, I am owning myself publicly, whatever capacity that is. Okay, Spirit, what else do Cancers need to hear? The 9 of Cups. Everyone is getting these really happy cards. The 9 of Cups is a wish fulfillment. And then after that, we have the Hangman. I feel like you guys are getting something. Okay, multiple messages here. I feel like something is happening for you that is a complete wish fulfillment, and it's completely changing your like concept of life and your self-concept and your perception of how the world works. So like, I guess I can use a sort of metaphor. If you've been walking through a desert for a really long time and you are completely dehydrated, and maybe you get like specks of water here and there and it's just enough to get by, you might view the world in that, through that lens that like life is about suffering. Life at moments will give you just enough, but there's difficulty in it. But there's something where if you were in that desert and you randomly found a river, and then you see that that river runs through the entire desert all along this one path, it's like you start to see that that this was always there, or that there is this level of abundance, and it doesn't just end. It just keeps going. And then your whole concept of what it feels like to be hydrated, what it feels like to be nourished, to be taken care of, is going to change. And so the way that you maybe exercise, or the way that you feel on a day-to-day basis, or the way that you come like into a place of being settled, or to a place of feeling, like just taken care of and safe, I really feel like that is going to change. So there's something about this where it's like let's use my example of if I were gay and I came out publicly and the world really met me and embraced this side of me that maybe I was so afraid to show the world. That is like maybe one of the wish fulfillments, and that it would change the concept of how I view the world around me. Maybe I would see it as a safer place, or I would feel like I can maybe take more risks or try different things, or again, just see life through new eyes, because something is like clicking into place for you and you're getting that fulfillment of a need, of a wish, of a desire. And because of that, you're able to, again, just like see things completely differently. This person is hanging upside down in this silk. And so there's something about that where you're going to be able to maybe view the world, like see opportunities where there wasn't before, just totally change your concept of like maybe abundance, of like career opportunities, of how you can feel in your career. Like if you've always worked a job that you hate, or that you just don't feel like yourself in, and then you finally find something that you love to do and you feel this soul alignment. Maybe you wake up every day stoked on life and you're like, wow, I didn't know I could feel this good. Like sometimes when you have something really like a blessing come through and you didn't have it before, you're like, wow, I was living my whole life that way before and I didn't even realize how good it could get. So there's something like that coming through for you guys, especially in terms of owning yourself fully publicly, and your career highlights, and like your soul being fulfilled through what you're doing within your life and what your sense of direction. That's where you're having this wish being fulfilled. What else is coming through for Cancer spirit? What else do they need to know? We have the Judgment card. Yeah, this is a card of awakening. Makes a lot of sense. I definitely feel like you guys are going through a spiritual awakening within the material realm. So, and again, within like your public expression of yourself concept. Okay, so what else spirit we have for Cancer? The Star, also card awakening, the Empress. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is kind of reiterating the same message, but I really feel like you are going to see, like, the Judgment card is kind of like when God calls the people from earth to heaven, I guess in their final, I don't know, moments. But it's like that period where you're like, I've been sitting here living in the real world and wondering what happens after death, like all these things that you can't see, all these mysteries of life. I've been wondering what's beyond this. And then all of a sudden you're able in this card, like you're able to see God, or you're able to see the angels and their trumpets, and they're calling you forth, and it's like piercing that veil where it was always a mystery of like, is there life after death? How is this all? So how do all these things actually work? And all that's lifted, and you can finally like see what was there all along. And there is that level of consciousness. So I feel like you're finally able to see what was there all along. And with the Star and the Empress, you're seeing that there was always abundance, that there was always this kind of like divine connection to you and to what you are meant to be doing, that there's hope, that there are opportunities, that there is the ability to receive, to be taken care of, to be accepted for who you are and what you want. Like, I don't know, I just feel like you're awakening to that, and you're seeing like that person who is having that drought. You're seeing something there that may have felt like too good to be true in the past, right? So you might even be listening to this and be like, girl, that sounds like a fantasy. But this is a cycle, so it's going to take some time to fully come to life. But this conjunction is going to start to bring out the awareness of where life wants you to be fulfilled, of where it wants to take care of you and give you that sense of hope that you can dream for what you want and still have the resources and opportunities meet you, especially again when it comes to career and your public standing in the world. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. Let me just see. Any last messages? Is there anything I'm missing for my Cancer? Because that message was repeated. No, I think that message is quite clear. So that's all I have for you. If that resonates for you, I would really, really love to hear your comments down below. I just think that's super helpful for me as an astrologer, and then for everyone else as well, to hear how it applies to your life. I'm trying to grow my channel as well. So any kind of follow, share, subscribe, comment, like is really appreciated. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, it makes you Leo rising and sun. So for you guys, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction on February 20th is taking place in your 9th house. It doesn't really matter what day it's taking place because, first of all, I'm filming this almost on the 20th anyway, and it's a cycle. So everything I'm saying today is going to be something that is going to unfold slowly over time, but you're going to start to feel the energetic imprints of this around now, basically. So Saturn and Neptune coming together is a very spiritualizing influence, especially in the 9th house. There is something that I think you guys are going to be deeply awoken to, especially when it comes to your personal power. Aries is a lot around like your belief in yourself and your understanding of yourself. And the 9th house is a lot of like our morals and our integrity and our sense of direction and clarity and living in alignment with our true beliefs and convictions. I think that if you guys have had anything like this that has felt out of alignment, you are going to start to make the necessary shifts in your life, starting from the beliefs that you have, in order to then trickle down and change the behaviors to align your kind of day-to-day actions and your vision for your life with your moral code, with your principles, with your integrity, with your spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs or whatever it may be. And this could also speak to having some kind of change within like foreign affairs. So like maybe you decide that I don't feel good in this place, I feel better in another country. Or maybe there's something here around like policy that is going to shift. So like policy within the workplace. So I don't know, I just feel like something is going to shift where the paradigm for how something is done, or for like what is judged to be like right or wrong or good or bad, or I think that is going to like somehow shift in some way. So let me think of an example. So justice. Oh my gosh. We're literally talking about justice. I don't know. I feel like maybe you are fighting for some kind of justice in your life, or this sense of like what is right and wrong. I feel like that, and how you're on the right side, or how you are, again, living in alignment with like your morals and what you think is right. There's something about that is really going to shift, because maybe you have a very strong integrity and principles, but there might be something in your life that you need to rev up your engine for and actually like go out and do something about it, or make some kind of change to align with it. And again, if something has felt like unfair or unjust or imbalanced, or again, out of your integrity, out of your alignment, I just really feel like you're going to mobilize to get on board with whatever this thing is, to help maybe create some change in your life or others' lives for that principle, for that belief, if that makes sense. So like, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, let me just keep pulling cards and we'll see if an example comes. What else, Spirit, can I explain with this? We have the Knight of Cups and the King of Swords. So, Seven of Wands, Five of Cups, Four of Wands, King of Wands. It's interesting that I'm finding your reading is a little bit more abstract for some reason. So maybe some of what you guys are going to deal with is largely on a more kind of metaphysical, spiritual plane rather than the material one. And not to say that there won't be material outcomes and behavioral changes and whatnot. I think there will be, but I think the origin of whatever this is something on the belief level or the emotional level. With the Knight of Cups is somebody who is, they're quite charming, the Knight of Cups. I feel like you guys are going to really be understanding with the Knight of Cups next to the King of Swords. I think you're really, really going to understand some kind of like deeper truth behind something. So like maybe, okay, so if there was like a pig and you put makeup on the pig, like it's still a pig, but maybe in this theoretical universe, somebody who saw that pig in makeup would think, oh, that's a beautiful woman or something. So it's like, I feel like you're going to be able to start seeing things for what they really are and looking past maybe the layers of like charm that could be on the surface of something. And because of that, with the Seven of Wands and Five of Cups, I feel like you're going to be able to, like, I don't know, I just feel like you're going to be able to see when something isn't right, when something is missing, or when something is going to lead to like a disappointment or lead to some kind of like grief or negative outcome. And I think maybe you're just really psychic right now, or you just are just very tapped into what is true. And you're really, again, living according to a moral code that is principled. And so when other people or things are coming at you with energy that is like darker or is going to lead to a negative outcome, but it looks all pretty on the surface, like I'm getting this sense that you're going to be able to cut through the BS and hold your ground and protect and defend what is true, what is right, what is pure, what is, again, in integrity. So I just really get the sense of like you piercing the veil of the illusion, of the lies, of the manipulation. This could be that things that have happened to you on a personal level, like maybe people have presented themselves in a certain way, or you've been kind of duped by people at certain times or have overlooked certain things with people, and now you're able to perceive them much clearer. And again, I think because you're so in your principled energy that you very easily recognize when someone or something is not in that energy. I think you're going to see this this corruption as well, maybe on a collective scale that we're all seeing right now. Like maybe there's something about you where you are fighting for the rights of people, or where you are, again, seeing like where things might have pretty words, but you're seeing more of the substance behind those words. And I think that there's just something about you being like a truth seeker, a truth teller, here to help really point out where, as a collective or in your personal life, things could be disappointing if you don't protect yourself from that influence in some way. I also think that you could be very inspiring. So like a whole second message with the Knight of Cups and King of Swords. I think that you could be some kind of like inspiring, creative. Maybe there is a message that you have to share or something. Again, with the Knight of Cups, this is like a poet, an artist, a prophet. Like there's something here of like, I have something to share in a pretty way, in a way that can entice people to really listen. And maybe it's through beautiful words or like a cool video or art or whatever, but underneath that draw of like marketing or charm that I can put on, the makeup that I put on it, underneath it is real substance, is real truth, is something that's very meaningful and purposeful, that is going to actually impact people's lives in a major way and help protect them and fortify them against potential like grief and loss and negative influences and disappointments and things in life that energetically pull from us and take from us in a down, make us kind of downtrodden. I feel like you are somehow going to create something that is going to, protect people from that because of like the truth of the words that you share, the things that you share. But I think you're going to really learn how to like position yourself in the marketplace or position your message in the world or your actions in the world in a way that is going to be attractive and enticing for people. And with the Four of Wands, King of Wands, I think it's going to be inspiring for people. So you're going to help them transform situations that would have potentially been disappointing to them, or again, taking their energy. And you're going to help them, like you're going to help kind of lead them to a place of maybe being able to lay that down and feel like they have more of this opportunity to celebrate, to have fun. I mean, this could be something so simple, like I'm making music and maybe it sounds really pretty, but like the lyrics are really meaningful, and it might seem like, oh, it's such a little thing, like we're just putting out music, like I'm not like saving the world. But I think that this is actually so profoundly healing, and it can be so profoundly inspiring and empowering for people to not just be emotionally moved to a better like vibration, but to also like hear the words that are going to almost like put them in this kind of like trance, or like inspire them or affect them on a deeper subconscious level to be more empowered. And I think the King of Wands is you in that leadership position, you leading them to that celebration, to that positive energy. And I just think that people can do this in so many ways. I mentioned music because that's very typical for a Leo. Like there's often some kind of creative venture like that. Maybe it's teaching, maybe it's writing, maybe it's leading something that is going to help people spiritually, mentally, emotionally. There's just something here like that where I feel like you guys are really going to be doing it for like to create some kind of like restore some kind of balance in the world. And again, I think that this is in alignment with your, not only like your creative essence and like your personal essence and whatnot, but also in alignment with like what you believe is right? Like what you think is going to move the world in a better direction, what your principles are. Like I think that you're going to create something that's going to help manifest more of that into the world. Manifest more positive energy surrounded by your principles. So, okay, I hope that makes sense. If it does, let me know in the comments down below, because that's your message, Leo. I would love to hear how it resonates with you. If you don't mind sharing your personal story, that's always very helpful. I am trying to grow my channel, so if you want to support that as well, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, comment, share with your friends, hype the video, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Virgo rising and Virgo sun. For you guys, this Saturn-Neptune conjunction is taking place in your 8th house. So I definitely feel like this is a time where when these planets come together, we kind of go through this soul awakening and we recognize where we may have been inhibited. In particular, with this being in your 8th house, I feel like this is where we start to recognize where this emotional residue from our past, or even not even from our past, but just like things that we're carrying in terms of maybe things that like need to be cleansed. This could even be like ancestral lines or things that go way back into like our, almost like our genetic coding. There's something about this placement here that is going to awaken us to what needs to be purged. The word parasite comes through. So maybe some of us are having like spiritual parasites, or maybe there are things like that that happen within, you know, ancestral lines where people are kind of haunted. That's the energy of like a haunting with a similar kind of echo of issues that repeat across multiple generations, or things that even maybe are coming up cyclically in a pattern in your own life. Maybe you're attracting the same kind of relationships, or maybe you have similar kinds of fears that come up, or maybe you just are noticing some type of, like reoccurring event. And Saturn and Neptune in the 8th house is kind of like cleaning and clearing all of that out. So first you have to awaken to it. First you have to recognize where it's actually taking place. So the disillusionment can come from fully seeing some type of pattern and then feeling kind of disappointed, like, oh, I can't believe I'm still dealing with this. I can't believe that this has been going on in my family for so long, or whatever. And you start to get fed up. You start to get tired, on a soul level tired. And this just feels like it's exposing some kind of truth. And again, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I'm like really getting the sense that this might affect you also on, like it might somehow be tied to family or within the lineage. So I'm getting that sense that it's deeper than just you. So we get Devil, 3 of Wands, and Death. Yeah, this definitely feels like you're recognizing where you have had addictions, limitation, toxic patterns, toxic beliefs. Maybe you eat the wrong foods, and maybe that's something that your family has always done. Maybe there is addiction in your family that you're undoing. Maybe you attract similar kinds of relationships that tether you into some shadow version of yourself. But this is all clearing away. It's exposing the darkness and the shadows and the things that have been lingering there, so that with the 3 of Wands and the rebirth card or the death card, you can transmute this energy. I think the 3 of Wands most distinctly represents moving into a new horizon, into a new land. So if you have been very familiar with this type of patterning, I really see you guys being able to forge a new path. And again, I think that you largely have to do that by transmuting some of what has already happened. The death card represents that rebirth energy where you're taking something that once may have limited you and you're feeding it with light and with consciousness, and then taking that energy and directing it through your own will and your own kind of force with this Aries, where you're changing your behaviors and your decisions by shedding the light on it. And the energy that was going towards that is now going to be used for the means that bring you towards this light, this new horizon, this sense of expansion. So before, where you felt limited, where you felt repetitive, where you felt unconscious, you are bringing lightness, you're bringing awareness, you're bringing consciousness, and using the energy that was directed there towards these new ventures, these new means. So that's what I mean by transmuting. So it's almost like if you have a limited amount of money, let's say you make, I don't know, $100 a week. Obviously, you probably make more than that, but let's say you make $100 a week and you're using 50 of it to pay for your mortgage, and then the other 20 for cigarettes, and then the other 30 for something else. This is like, okay, now that I don't have this vice, this addiction to cigarettes, now I can relocate that money, that $20 that I was using there on that vice, to something that is going to savings. That's something that's going to move my life ahead. So yeah, I don't know. I get that we just have we only have so much capacity. And I think that part of the transmutation process is opening up our capacity for more by removing our energy and attention and focus on things that were cyclical, repetitive, toxic, addicting, and draining in some way. What else are my Virgo risings going to get out of this? So this, again, this could really relate to relationships, food habits, addiction, emotional habits, self-limiting beliefs, where you're feeding those things. You are now no longer going to feed them. You're going to transmute that. And this is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. And the first part of the process is becoming aware of it and often feeling disappointed by that. Disappointed by like, oh, I can't believe I'm still dealing with this. But it's going to be leading to such profound changes that I think ultimately once that initial disappointment has worn off, you're going to be so grateful that you were able to face it and move past it. The death card can also indicate that maybe some things are actually leaving your life. So like if you do have, a toxic pattern, toxic habit, toxic relationship, maybe that is literally leaving. Like you're not smoking anymore. You're not dating that person anymore. Maybe somebody, maybe there is an actual death in the family. Sometimes that can happen with the 8th house, and it profoundly transforms you on a spiritual, intuitive, and emotional level, that something leaves your life and it recalibrates you. That's also possible. What else is going on here with 6 of Cups? Yeah, this is so tied to family. That's what I was saying. I was getting that really strongly. There's something about this that is tied to your past, that is tied to your family, that's been in your lineage in some capacity. Maybe it doesn't look the same, but there is a theme that is overlapping with what your family has been through and what you are going through. And I really see you breaking that cycle for your lineage. This is a huge deal. So it's okay if you felt burdened by this, overwhelmed by this, because it's something that you are transmuting for more than one generation. We have the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, I feel like you're really learning how to take care of yourself. The Queen of Pentacles to me is somebody who is very stable, who has a good routine, who knows how to nurture themselves, who cleans up their house, who does their dishes, who eats good food, who sleeps well, who goes to, yoga, exercise, who goes to their mental health, like their therapist for their mental health. Like this is somebody who's really good at the home stuff. Like, and this could also be related to family, but I'm getting a sense of like stability, nurturing, nourishment, self-care. So whereas before you might have been in some kind of unconscious cycle around your family, not around your family, but like unconscious cycle that is within your like heritage or your ancestral line. With the Queen of Pentacles, I feel like part of how you are combating that is by, again, using the energy that you're putting towards that into things that help stabilize you. Maybe this is like, again, going to bed at a different time or making sure that you exercise and meditate more. There's something like that going on here. I was like, I don't know if I want to take all these cards. Okay, we have the Empress and the Emperor and the Hanged Man. Yeah, some of you guys are ending some kind of cycle within relationships. The Empress and the Emperor are the polarities of the masculine and feminine. I mean, gender is not important here, but the idea is that there is that both sides of the polarity. So if this is about relationships with the Hangman, I feel like you guys maybe in your family were taught one way of relationships, or you were taught, how to treat yourself or how to treat others in a certain way. Maybe it's going to be different for everyone, but maybe it's like, oh, I always have to overgive to deserve love, or I have to be hyper productive to be worthy of receiving, or I have to, I don't know, whatever the story is. So I really feel like with the Hangman, you guys are going to start to question the reality that you were taught and approach your relationships through a new lens. If you are in an existing relationship that's based off of this old paradigm, it is possible that that relationship could break. If the relationship can't adjust and adapt with you, then yes, it could get left behind. But the sense that I'm getting here is that you're going to attract more people into your life that match this new solid and stable energy. You're going to attract that kind of healthy dynamic and healthy polarity, a true match for you and any kind of relationship. This could be in your family, in your friends, in your, especially romantic with the 8th house. But yeah, I'm getting the sense that many of you are going to potentially meet somebody and it's going to totally transform your life. If you have been single for a long time, or if you have been really attracting toxic pattern or toxic relationship after toxic relationship, I'm really getting the sense that you're going to radically transform who you attract into your life and the kinds of relationships that you have. And they're going to be a lot more stable. And I think it's because you started off by really making sure that you are taking care of with these Queen of Pentacles, that you are taking care of your home, in your physical body, in your physical environment, in your emotional, everything. So because you are nourishing and stabilizing yourself, you meet a much better person, or get out of a pattern, maybe with a person that you're already with, if that person's willing to transform with you. And the Hanged Man, from there, you totally see the world in a different way as a result of this. And again, I think a lot of this is like you were taught one way of relating or one way of doing things like that in your family, and now you're changing that for your whole family line. So if you don't have kids yet, or even if you do, being able to teach your kids something different, if you decide to have kids at all, but being able to teach them something different so that when the line goes on, you don't perpetuate whatever this cycle is. The eighth house is a lot around intimacy. It's around vulnerability. It's around true connection, true partnership, where you are supported by one another, and vulnerable in that way, where you like let somebody take something from, like, not from you, but take something from you, but like the burdens, right? Taking some of the responsibility and burden from you. So if you guys have struggled to do that in the past, if you've been the one taking care of everything all the time, I really think that you're going to find a match, or you're going to leave behind relationships that just take, and you're going to get into the energy of balancing, receiving plus giving. And I also think that this could represent a marriage of unions within the self. So if this isn't talking about a relationship with another person, this could be forming the polarities within the self, where you are both in a structural masculine way, taking care of your life and responsibilities, in, again, being disciplined, being scheduled, like doing things in a way that I think is more compatible kind of with the world. And then we have the Empress, and this is a lot more about being intuitive and receiving and resting and being kind of feminine flow and playful, and not having to like be structured and not having to be super disciplined, because things just like manifest for you. So you're going to be able to balance both of these energies within yourself. If you've been overly in your masculine or overly in your feminine, I really see you being able to bring these things back into center, and as a result, completely transforming your concept of life with the Hanged Man. So if you were really pushing and striving, now you get to rest and flow and appreciate that. If you were disconnected from your sense of responsibility and structure, I see you guys being able to implement that. Okay, any last messages for my Virgo around the Saturn-Neptune conjunction? We have the Wheel. Yeah, I think things are going to start turning in your favor. I mean, it is possible with Saturn and Neptune coming together in the 8th that something negative happens. This is a negative house, frankly. So it is possible that there are things that could feel initially negative. But the Wheel card is also a card that speaks to luck and cycles and things ever changing. So I feel like if you've been down on your luck, you're going to start to come out of it. And if there are negative things that quote unquote happen, I really feel like it's not a sign of the times that you're going to be in. It's a sign of the things that you're leaving behind. Like the negative things are, if there is anything, it's here as more of an awakening, and it's here to, or as like a sign of what is leaving your life, right? So like if relationships fall away, that's because that was part of your old cycle and your old paradigm, and now you are elevating past that. So it might initially feel painful of like, oh, I can't believe this person's leaving me and da da da. But the ultimate like next cycle coming in is so much more positive that you're going to be really, really happy that that transition took place, even though it was initially uncomfortable. You're like, oh, I'm moving out of this cycle and into something much more positive. So in that sense, things could feel quote unquote negative. But again, it's either serving as a very critical piece that will awaken you to something that you didn't see before, or it is the old cycle leaving. Either way, it's the old cycle leaving your life. Okay, any last messages for Virgo? We have the King of Cups. Yeah, I think you guys are also going to be a lot more emotionally regulated. If you've struggled with this in the past, if you've had very big feelings, or if you've been disconnected from your feelings, or if you've been like moving to patterns and maybe addictions and things unconsciously because your emotions are maybe not totally processed and dealt with. And so they're like, you feel called to certain things that help you ignore that or get distracted from your feelings. I really feel like you're going to be embracing the ebbs and flow of your emotions in a way that is not controlled, but like you have the tools to deal with them and mitigate things. So it's not like you're being overrun by your feelings or becoming unconscious and going offline because of how you're ignoring them or how intense they are. Like I really feel like you're going to be super in tune with yourself, in your intuition. And maybe this also has to deal with rest. So maybe some of you guys have had trouble resting. This is a very big Virgo issue. Maybe you've had trouble resting, especially with Saturn in the 7th and finally moving out of there. Like you've had a lot of things that maybe have challenged your health or your relationships, and maybe a lot of responsibility towards other people or stressors from other people. And I feel like you're just coming back to more of your center, and you're going to finally be able to rest in a more profound way. And I think that's also what's helping you mitigate some of your emotional upheaval, if there was any. So anything else for Virgo? Why you guys just keep getting messages? We get 10 of Pentacles. Okay, so some of you guys could get an inheritance with the 10 of Pentacles. Some of you guys could also meet, if you're single and you're like wanting to have a family. Some of you guys could meet somebody that you will have a family with one day. This could also represent improving the familial line, like I was talking about, getting rid of these ancestral patterns. So like if relationships were always toxic or you were taught one way of doing things, I see you creating a lot of stability for the whole like legacy that's moving forward for the generations after you. So this is something of like either like you're leaving a better emotional legacy, but also potentially financial legacy, financial stability, having that support system, feeling very like rooted, very supportive, very loved, very protected with this 10 of Pentacles. Yours is the longest reading so far. I just think the 8th house is quite complex and often one of the more negative ones. So I think it's important to really get into the benefits of this. But yes, I can see you protecting yourself financially or having some kind of asset that comes in to create financial stability or emotional stability within the family or the home and that sense of rootedness. Anything else, Spirit, that I didn't get to cover for my Virgo risings or Virgo sun? Okay, Page of Cups. So yeah, I feel like, again, you guys are going to be going through this whole process of transmuting out of this kind of like dark energy. And I see this kind of like return of the innocence. I see you guys being able to almost go back to like a childlike wonder or trust. I don't know. There's something about this. Maybe you are dealing with children more and you get to see life through their eyes, but there's something here around like somehow returning to innocence and things feeling purer and lighter than before. I think, again, as a result of that transmutation of the shadow. But there is probably a million more things I can say. I'm like, kind of want to keep going. Let's just see if there's any last things. I'm like, okay, 2 of Wands and 6 of Swords. Okay, this is actually going to be my last message because I feel like things are just going to keep coming. But 2 of Wands, 6 of Swords, I feel like you guys are also going to be coming into an era of some major changes in your life. The 2 of Wands and 6 of Swords represent making plans that shift your life forward in a way that might currently be unexpected. So the 8th house is the house of mystery in many ways and of the occult. So you guys might not see currently some big changes and big choices that is going to evolve your life. Maybe you'll end up traveling or living somewhere else. Maybe you'll end up changing something about your career. Maybe you'll end up changing your ideals or like what you want out of your life in some way. But I just think you're gonna be having, I think you're gonna be setting your sights on something and you're gonna smooth towards that. You're gonna sail towards that smoothly. Luna. Gosh, you're gonna sail towards that smoothly. But I think that something about that goal is going to be slightly unexpected for you. Or like novel for you in some way or change for you. It's almost like maybe part of what you're leaving behind is a limiting belief that really narrowed your focus and like what you thought was a potential for you in life. And now that you're transmuting some of that devil energy, some of that darkness and that limiting belief and that shadow, I really feel like it's cleaning your whole windshield and you're able to see that there's more possibilities, that there's more options. Or maybe you meet a partner and that aligns you with a new path that you hadn't considered before, or even a business partner. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner. But there's something here of like something being unrestrained now to plan for a bigger future, a brighter future, a different kind of future than you would have even considered a possibility before. So I'm going to leave it on that note for you, Virgo. If this is helpful, if this resonates, I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. I am trying to grow my channel by the end of this year. So if you want to be a part of that, I'd appreciate the support. You could subscribe, you could like the video, hype, comment, anything like that is greatly appreciated. Maybe share it. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. All right, next you have Libra rising and sun. This Saturn-Neptune conjunction is taking place in your 7th house of relationships at 0 Aries. I actually just recorded a whole message and I knocked my microphone. It unplugged and just decided to just delete everything that I recorded. And I do think that there's something significant with that. I'll come back to that, but I want to reiterate the message that I was just channeling. So with this being a fresh start in the area of relationships and potentially contracts, I see you guys with the 10 of Pentacles and Ace of Swords really starting to have some kind of clarity or some kind of sense of direction and maybe coming to a conclusion, having a decision, having an important conversation around maybe having a family with somebody, finding roots somewhere, committing to something like signing a contract to work somewhere for a long time, or just something that is going to act as a stabilizing foundational influence related to some type of partnership, relationship, or again, home, family, like where you live, where you stay, some kind of commitment that is ultimately going to allow some major growth opportunities for your life. And I feel like what's been going wrong previously with the 3 of Swords and 7 of Cups is that you were operating from a little bit of like a wounded place where you might not have realized that you were keeping your options open out of fear of like cutting something away. Maybe you were feeling like, oh, if I commit to this, look at all the things I'll have to say no to. Look at all the things that I won't get as a result of this. Look at the lack from that. And that led you to kind of keeping your energy very diffuse. And the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries is about clarity, decisiveness, direction, knowing where you're going, knowing what you want, and committing to that level of firmness. And with this 3 of Swords and 7 of Cups, I feel like you guys have been really like waffling. Maybe you need to make a certain decision to move your life forward, to move somewhere, or to commit to one like way of doing something, or again, to marry someone or put roots somewhere. So there's something that you foundationally are meant to be building, but I feel like you were really shying away from that. And again, I think part of it is almost like a lack of confidence and almost like you're outsourcing that Aries energy because it's in your 7th house, like finding other people who maybe are making the decisions for you, or maybe you're just avoiding certain conflicts or difficult conversations, or again, difficult decisions that you might need to make. But really, I feel like you guys are meant to be narrowing your focus and committing more fully and standing 10 toes behind a decision here that is going to lead you to some kind of building of an empire, building of a foundation, again, potentially with the partner, with a place of living, a contract, a partnership, something like that. And I feel like before, again, you kept your options open, maybe had a wandering eye, maybe you always considered like, oh, I could do this and do that. And almost like a kind of a daydreaming type of energy where you were allowing yourself to live in the imagination rather than the realm of reality, where you have to, again, experience sometimes some type of lack by saying, I don't have time for all this. Like realistically, I can't do all these things. I have to just choose something. If I want to build something real, I have to commit to that. So there's something like that where you, again, had a very diffuse energy, spread your options wide, always considering things, living in that imagination realm. And I think a part of it was coming from internal conflict with the 5 of Wands, where you had 2 different sides of yourself that want different things. Maybe part of you wanted freedom, and maybe part of you wanted to build something. And then you're were kind of always at war and feeling like, you know, if I do this, then I'm going to have to say no to this side of myself, and I'm not sure. This could also represent conflict with others where you are really on two different pages. Your ideas of how to move something forward were not compatible. So there's something here where I feel like you were kind of at war with yourself around some kind of idea. It was causing you stress. It was causing you anxiety, overthinking. And it was, again, coming from a wounded place of like, if I commit to something like this, then I'm going to have lack, then I'm going to have loss. When in reality, with the Emperor, you're going to have some level of structure that you can build upon. If you have a strong foundation, you can build a business, you can build an empire, you can build a family, you can build a legacy, whatever it is that you want to do. But this is boss bitch kind of energy where you're assertive. You have, again, almost like control over your environment. And it's because you are willing to go 110% into something instead of kind of like wobbling back and forth between many different options, many different ideas, like, you know, having your focus everywhere, always considering maybe changing something. It's like you can't build something if you're always uprooting and uprooting and uprooting. Maybe it's you move very often, or maybe you change relationships, or you are never certain if you want to commit to that person or that thing, or maybe you don't know if you want to sign that contract. So you live in the unknown for too long. And I feel like you're finally at a place where you are ready. You are sick of that energy. You are sick of driving yourself anxious, driving yourself mad, living in this like place of illusion rather than the physical material world where you can move stuff forward. The Seven of Cups, the Emperor, are complete opposite energies, because the Emperor is somebody who's able to like take the things that you've considered in your imagination and ground them into the physical reality and achieve something as a result of that, instead of just daydreaming about stuff. So I really feel like you guys are in this period now where you're ready to actualize something, where you're ready to commit to something, where you're ready to see a higher vision and build towards something really significant. And with the Eight of Wands, I think it's actually going to progress really quickly for you. I think it's going to cause a whole cascade of other opportunities that come as a result of this. And yeah, I mean, it's funny because I talk about like uprooting yourself, and I recorded your whole thing and then knocked my microphone really simply. Like I barely tapped it and it unplugged and it just deleted everything. And that's the feeling that I get. You guys were like always kind of restarting somehow, starting at ground zero. Maybe you kept coming back to like the same conclusions in your life, like after always working something out. Maybe you kept moving and having to make new friends. Maybe you kept, again, kind of mulling over the same questions and decisions about a partnership. And it's like, just like shit or get off the pot. I hate to be so crude, but you know what I'm saying, of like, you gotta make a decision either way. You can't linger in this in between of like, do I want to be in this relationship? Do I not want to be? And this is spoken from somebody who's been there, who's been in that waffling energy and that uncertain energy. And I think it's one of the most uncomfortable places that you can subject yourself to, that limbo, because you're disempowered. Your power is outside of yourself and these other Aries figures who might have more clarity, more decisiveness, and might end up swaying your life in different directions because they're more sure than you. It's time to take that power back within yourself and commit to some kind of direction, again, to go, to not to go, to dig deeper and root deeper, or commit to that thing or that person or not. And with the Eight of Wands, again, I think you're going to move very quickly, and life is going to actually be very exciting. And it's going to have a lot of momentum, because now that you have that commitment and that stable foundation, then you can build very easily on top of that, and things can start to, again, pick up momentum because they are stable. So it's almost like when you sleep really well at night, you can get up the next day and you can do so much typically, like when you're well rested. But if you don't sleep, if you're stuck in that phase between sleeping and being awake, and you're in that liminal phase and you're thinking and you're wondering and you're like using up all this energy, you wake up the next day and you can't get anything done, or you're like at half your energy levels. So there's something about that where I feel like when you decide to fully commit to something, you free up a lot of energy, and you also stabilize your life in a way that is resourcing you. And because of that, you will have the capacity to elevate your life more, reach for more, do more, accomplish more in this very material, like practical sense with the Emperor card, like building a business, building a family, creating more, again, kind of like structure and routine, leading other people or yourself in some kind of way, inventing something. I don't know, whatever it is. I see you guys being able to like, yeah, pioneer something or build something very significant. And it's only because you've freed up the energy to do so by no longer waffling, by committing, by going deep, and very likely with another person or with a family or with your sense of like roots and home. That is where that commitment is taking place. So that's what I see for you, Libra. I'm very excited for you. I hope that this resonates. I hope that this is helpful. If so, let me know in the comments down below how that pertains to your life, because I really would love to know. Also, don't forget to support my channel. I am trying to grow it this year. So liking, hyping, subscribing, commenting, sharing, all those things are greatly appreciated. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Scorpio rising and sun. So for you guys, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is happening in your 6th house on February 20th, 2026. This is a larger cycle. So even though it's exact on that date, we still have a lot of time for these whole things to develop, like the whole theme and story to fully develop. So give yourself some time with this, with the messages that I'm seeing here. A Saturn-Neptune conjunction in the 6th house can have a lot to deal with a couple different areas of our life where we're going to have a old paradigm breakdown and like your way of doing things previously. You're going to really start to see that that's just not working. You're going to feel really disillusioned by the results that you're getting by keeping that behavior or that perspective up. And we're going to start to make some major shifts here because this is a totally fresh start with this being at 0 Aries, where we're going to build a completely new foundation that is, again, coming from an approach that is totally different than it once was for you. This is happening in the area of your physical and mental health and your work and like routine and whatnot. But I want to start off with your health. So for Scorpios, if you have been going through some kind of, you know, physical loss or physical change, or if you've had some difficulties with your health, either on a mental or emotional or a physical level, this Saturn and Neptune conjunction is giving you a fresh lease on life to tackle that area of your life and approach it completely differently. I've recently had a realization about this in my own fitness journey. And I was like a couple of years ago, I was really doing a lot to try to get in a lot of good shape. And I was going to the gym a lot and doing kind of these more intense HIIT workouts and going to the gym basically every day and lifting weights and running a lot as well, which is very high impact. And what I started to realize more recently, now that I've recommitted to my kind of gym life journey, is that it's very important to have balance, because what I was noticing, it wasn't giving me the right results because I was constantly putting my body under adrenal stress. And I'm giving you guys this specific example because where these planets are conjunct at 0 Aries, Aries rules the adrenals, and the 6th house is the house of stress and often the house of overworking and overdoing things. So there's something about your life right now where you guys could be like, or in the past could have been depleting your battery. You could have been approaching your work life and your routine or your exercise from an exhausting kind of way. And you might have felt like, oh, I'm being really productive, I'm getting a lot done by doing all this. But maybe holistically for the entire system of your mind and your body and your wellness and your life, that level of always being on, always being stressed, always being activated, always going, always doing, maybe that level is actually something that was like burning the candlestick at both ends. Even though you're doing the right things, if you're doing too much of them or not in the right balance, not in the right order, not allowing for proper recovery, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you were kind of going in the opposite direction where you didn't have a good enough, balance with being efficient and being productive and getting shit done, because this is Aries, a cardinal sign of action. So it can go either end of the spectrum, but Scorpios, you are prone to an extreme, and you may have been kind of unconsciously burning yourself out, even just by simply overthinking and stressing about the world and being too like, yeah, being too head down, work focused. I gotta like get everything done. And I don't know, I could just see you putting too much pressure on yourselves on a physical and emotional level. And I really feel like you're coming into a phase now where you're meant to be thinking more about the long term. You're meant to be thinking about like preservation. I see the Four of Pentacles a lot as like, let me save my energy. Let me not just like try to do everything all at once at my job. Or again, maybe the opposite where I'm kind of slow to start things and I really hold myself back by delaying things and I'm not efficiently like consistently moving forward towards something. So there's something about this with the Four of Pentacles where it's like, let's preserve our energy, but not through a phase of inaction, but like slow, incremental, consistent daily actions so that you don't go through these major spikes of cortisol and stress and actually start to have the opposite result of what you're looking for to begin with. And you might find that you're more attractive, more abundant, and get more opportunities and blessings that come to you as a result of living a life that is balanced to the whole system and focused on wellness. So again, I think you're almost getting the opposite result of what you are looking for. Like, oh, if I push this really hard and if I do this all at work, then I'll finally get recognized. And it's like, actually, if you show up with good energy for a structured amount of time and then leave after that, and you have that good work-life balance and you are focused on preserving your energy and what's important and protecting what's important about your mental well-being, your physical well-being, and your productive well-being, then you'll start to see that people respect you, that people respond well to you, that people notice your boundaries, that people look up to you as a leader, that people start to see the physical results of your energy and your body shine through your face. And it's almost like the world will meet you how you meet yourself, like how you take care of your whole self. It will I just get a lot around like it will respect you for you having those boundaries and having the right balance within those boundaries. Because again, Scorpio, you kind of are prone to extremes. So you have to be careful with stuff like this. Okay, so what else, Spirit, is coming from Saturn-Neptune in the 6th? This could also indicate having a totally different like change within the workplace, deciding to go about your work totally differently or what you do. So it's like, oh, I don't want to work for this kind of company anymore. Like they're burning me out. They're causing me a lot of anxiety. I'm getting really stressed from this type of job where I'm always kind of on. Maybe you, like my brother, he's a Scorpio. He drives for a living and he's like, has to go to the airport and he has to always be in the car, which is stressful. He has to go long distances in the snow and has to be on time and pick up all these people. And it's like, it's quite taxing for the adrenals. Again, with this 8 of Swords, I can see you guys just like having a propensity towards like anxiety and stress. And if this is not mental anxiety, I just feel like it's adrenal stress. And the Spirit, the universe really wants you to refocus your attention to the holistic system and maybe change like the physical work that you do day to day, or like what your goals even are, your productivity goals. Change your job, change your routine, change your wellness, change your sleep patterns. Something like that needs to give, because otherwise I think you're just going to continue to burn yourself out. Okay, so we have the Emperor, which is all about structure and new routines, and also somebody who is a kind of like badass leader. So this is somebody who sets their own schedule. Maybe this is you deciding to work for yourself, to be your own boss, or maybe this is you taking up a leadership position or restructuring your life, even if you still work for somebody, restructuring your life to where you feel like you have more control over your time, over your day, over your hours. We have the Magician card. This is a card about somebody who really like utilizes everything at their disposal. So if you have a little bit of pocket of time here to like de-stress or to go for a walk or to get some sunshine or whatever it is, using your time wisely, using your resources wisely. You don't need to completely overhaul everything in your life to make your like schedule fit your, like the wellness of your whole system. Oftentimes you have the time and the money and the actual ability to do it with what you have right now. And if not, you can manifest those things. The Four of Swords, absolutely. This is about you being willing to rest, truly unplug. So this is not coming home and thinking about work even when you're not working. That's not rest. This is not going on your phone. That is not rest. Trust me. I know. So there's something about this where it's like, how do you decompress? That's going to be a major thing where you need to really reflect on, what makes you have rest. And this could be something like time in nature where you're actually walking. So you'd think that you're not resting, but you are, because you're being filled up by the nature around you, or something of that nature. We also have Three of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords. So some of you guys could be ending some kind of, job where you're working with somebody, with a team. This could also represent you needing to delegate more in your life, if that's a possibility for you. So hiring out a cleaner, or maybe even like trying to buy prepped food or something like that, like to save yourself a little bit of energy. This could also represent that. I just had something. But yeah, I don't know. I think that this is, the Three of Pentacles, sixth house is often we can get into a caretaker role where we're doing a lot of things for a lot of people. Maybe this is you overextending yourself for others in some way. Like, oh, I'm a parent. I'm like, let's say you're the mom of the house. Like, usually moms will do too much and they will do the majority of the workload in some way. And so it's like something about that where you need to set boundaries, where you need to say no. Maybe you are in a caretaker role and you have to make sure that you're also taking care of yourself. If you don't do this, there can be negative health consequences, or maybe there already have been, and this is your wake-up call. But whatever this is really trying to get into your head that you are allowed to rest. You need to rest. You need balance. And again, maybe some of you guys have the opposite, where you are allowed to move forward. You are allowed to disentangle yourself from your fears and your anxieties and be proactive in your life. But I think most of you it'll be about resting. So either way, the Three of Pentacles and Ten of Swords, it's about walking away from the way that you structure your life and the way that you show up, like to work on behalf of others or for others or with others. Very sixth house energy. And change the way that you approach that to really suit you and your needs. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio. If that resonates, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to also support my channel. I am trying to grow it this year. So liking, commenting, subscribing, hyping, all those things are really appreciated. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius rising and sun. So you guys are going to have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries taking place in your 5th house. So wherever we're having this conjunction is where we're going through almost like this process of this disillusionment, where we've been doing one type of behavior or thing to get a result in our life. And then we're like, wait, that's not working. I'm not happy with the results I'm getting. I can't keep going like this. This is unsustainable. And then we're deciding to completely go back to the drawing board and change our beliefs and our behavior and our perspective on something in order to be able to have a kind of like new life and a fresh start in that area of our life. For you, this is taking place in the 5th house. So it's going to pertain to either something related to your dating life. I mean, the 5th house is hard because I find the 5th house and the 8th house kind of hard because there are so many things that fall into it. But the 5th house is like dating, it's children, it's hobbies, it's personal pleasure and passions and interests and natural talents and gifts and your ability to shine, your ability to express yourself, your travels and vacations, your sexuality to some degree. Things like, having fun in the moment, like drinking and eating and gambling and all those things. Like maybe you approached that in one way before, and now it's time to approach it differently. So I'm going to pull cards to kind of get a clearer message. It's interesting that I got the King of Pentacles and 10 of Pentacles. These are both cards that relate to stability, to finances, to things feeling very, this is kind of like the daddy Saturn father archetype kind of energy, where we have somebody who is a hard worker, who's disciplined, who's consistent, who's reliable, who's stable, who's trustworthy, who makes good money and has the kind of like foundation and legacy for the future. So maybe there's something around that that's shifting for you guys. Let's see what else. Let's see exactly what this message is. Okay, the Emperor, that's also a card related to that. Queen of Swords, Emperor, and the Page of Wands. Interesting. So I feel like you guys are getting clear on certain boundaries with something. I feel like there's, again, this is kind of interesting. This is somewhat related to Libra, but there is a very stabilizing influence here. And the 5th house can speak to wealth, and the 5th and 11th house can speak to growing wealth and opportunities for you to be able to monetize a passion of yours. This could also speak to something with your children. I do want to mention that, like, if you have a family, like something about your, like, stabilizing something with your family, or having some kind of different routine with your kids, or more like stable finances with like how you take care of your kids, like something to support them better. So that's also an option here. But with the Queen of Swords and the Emperor, this is somebody who has very clear goals. They know what they want. They know where they're going, which is very Aries. They're very direct. And the Emperor is, they are willing to lead people there. That's a sense that I'm getting. I feel like you're meant to lead your family in some way, or like lead your life in some way, where you're creating a legacy, where you're creating an impact. And with the Page of Wands, I think it's supposed to be something that feels like it's a totally unbridled and free and authentic expression of your individuality. So maybe some of you guys, there's something that you're meant to be building, that you're, again, leading, that you're creating a legacy with, that you are maybe employing other people with, or maybe it's just like you within your family. You're setting the tone, you're setting the expectation, the standard, the routine. There's something like this. And the Page of Wands is like, it's also supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something that feels expressive, that feels, again, like you, where you can let your hair down. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is like, I'm really getting, this is kind of like, oh, I want to be a business owner and I want to make really good money to take care of my family, and I want it to be something that I really enjoy doing. So that's like one of the things that I see here is like, I really want to focus on building this foundation that is going to create some kind of financial success, that is going to create very clear like goals and priorities. And not just to have stability as a priority, but with the Page of Wands, also have my creativity, my spirituality, my passions, my interests, what's fun, what's pleasurable, also at the forefront of those long-term goals and decisions. And like how you structure your family, or how you structure things with your children and whatnot, should be based off of that. So this is going to be so different for some of you people. I'm getting a little overwhelmed by that fact, but like, let me say an example here. It's like, I decide that I'm going to homeschool my kids. I'm going to take that kind of King of Pentacles. I'm going to create routine and order, a structure. I have, like, we're going to learn this and this and this, but we're also going to make it really fun. And we're not going to be like bogged down by what a traditional school might do. We're going to do what feels really good for us. Okay, Tower card. What does this Tower card relate to? The Devil. Yeah, so I think that some of you guys, maybe there's been, let me pull one more card. Maybe there, because the 5th house can also be very representative of where we can overindulge. So we can spend too much, we like gambling. We can have too much, a waste of energy. We can eat too much. We can get distracted by like life's pleasures, and not in a way that's like fulfilling us, but in a toxic way or in an excessive way. Judgment, 9 of Wands, King of Swords. Yeah, I think that you're awakening to how certain decisions in your past may have been leading you to like feeling quite, with the 9 of Wands, quite burnt out. The 9 of Wands is like a card of resilience and like, I can prove myself and I can keep going. with something, but I almost feel like, yeah, I don't know, with the Tower and the Devil, I almost feel like you maybe were in some kind of cycle of like in okay, so here's an example. Let's say like you have been really wanting to save money. You've been wanting to buy a house or just have money in your retirement or save maybe for a family or support your family. You want to have more structure and discipline in your life in that regard, and you want to be able to really support yourself and your loved ones. But you've been kind of you've been distracting yourself or like wasting some of that capacity by maybe gambling or by eating out a lot or by traveling a lot and spending a bunch of money on things that aren't important to you, shopping while you're on these trips. Like, not to say you shouldn't do any of those things, but like, I think when they go into excess, when they take away from your legacy and your long-term goals and the things that you really aspire towards, like maybe you want that money for something really important for yourself later on, for, again, a home or for your children or something like that. And it's like, this is just a money example, but it could pertain to anything. But if you've been wasting that money or that energy or that time on things that don't really provide value back, or they get lost or wasted in some capacity, or they perpetuate maybe an addictive cycle, and they kind of keep you trapped by always spending more and doing more and not like actually creating stability within your foundation, your resources. And this could also be like time, like I'm on my phone too much. And so I'm not really like maybe as present with my children, or I'm maybe like emotionally not as grounded as I could be because I'm too distracted with these certain fears or these certain limitations that I'm indulging in too much, maybe by being on my phone or by doing certain things. I don't know. So I feel like you're finally recognizing like how unsustainable something is with the Judgment and the Nine of Wands. You're starting to see that like there's something about this that is maybe bringing in, I don't know. I feel like the Judgment card could say that you've maybe been too judgmental on yourself. So like maybe you don't allow yourself the like certain pleasures of life, and like, how do I say this? Like overindulging in things that are shallow and you think that are nurturing you, but they're not. And then underindulging in like the true pleasures of life. There's something about that. And where it's like, you're not allowing yourself to fully get to like, embrace something really that you want or that's really beautiful. Okay. But with the King of Swords, I just feel like you're going to gain a lot of clarity right now on exactly why that is. And maybe be able to set some clearer boundaries with yourself around these things. So like, let's say, for example, you have only a little bit of time off for yourself in the evenings, and you've been spending it, like you're really tired, so you've been spending it on your phone or watching TV. But then you have certain art projects or certain things that you really want to do that you say, oh, I'll do that later, and then you just never do it because you're like on your phone instead. And you are indulging, but not in the things that really fill your cup. So there's something here about creating more stability, again, focusing on legacy, focusing on building wealth, focusing on pooling your resources and having structure, but also having play, also having inspiration, creativity, freedom, exploration, and doing that by using your resources wisely, your time, your energy, your emotional resources, all those things, instead of investing them into things that kept you stuck and kept you trapped in a cycle of like wanting to do that more and not moving your life forward in some way. So that's what I'm seeing for you. Feels like slightly abstract, but I hope that the example that I used about gambling and money and whatever is helpful. But I would really love to hear how this pertains to your life. If you're understanding how this relates to you, please do let me know. That's very helpful for me. And also don't forget to support my channel. If you could like the video or comment or subscribe or hype or share the video, I really appreciate that. I am trying to grow my following this year. So any support is, again, really, really appreciated. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Capricorn, rising and sun. So this Saturn-Neptune conjunction is happening on February 20th in your 4th house. And of course, the conjunction is one day, right? I mean, it's not one day. It's taking place on the 20th, but it is a long cycle unfolding. So the messages that I have for you today are something that are going to be, again, unfolding over time. This is a big deal for you as a Capricorn because Saturn is your planetary ruler and is finally moving out of the sign of Pisces. You may have felt like you've been wandering, lost at sea. That is a very Piscean, Neptunian experience. And you might still have some of that because, of course, Neptune is still on Saturn. But as time progresses, Saturn will move further away from Neptune and you will get your feeling of finally getting your bearings, maybe finally stepping your foot on land after a long time in an ocean of opportunities and ideas and maybe confusion and loss and uncertainty. And you're going to finally be getting that solid ground again as time moves forward. Not exactly right now, but right now in particular, with your planetary ruler being conjunct Neptune, you're meant to be going through a kind of soul awakening. We all are. In particular, where we feel like we have been, like right now we're going through some kind of period of disillusionment where we maybe have seen or approached our life through a certain kind of lens and perspective and behavior that has gotten us a result that we are largely going to feel dissatisfied with. In particular, it's going to show up in the area of your home, your family, your emotional contentedness, your sense of stability, your sense of rootedness, your relationships with your family, your relationships with your finances, and again, emotional and financial security. So that's the area in which you may feel like this sense of grief or loss or transition or uncertainty at first. And then what it's going to do is mobilize you to approach this area of your life differently. So where you may have before not maybe, I mean, it's going to look so different for so many people, but maybe you didn't acknowledge your emotions in certain ways and things would psychologically or kind of like, just like almost like pile up within your psyche. I see you approaching that differently, or maybe you go about your finances or your family or home life differently. Let me pull some cards to see what exactly is developing for you. So we have the 10 of Wands and the Star. Yeah, I just feel like you guys have been emotionally exhausted. I really get the sense from my Capricorns that you've been wrung out in some way. Maybe you've had a lot of family loss or transitions. Maybe you've had some things that have shaken you to your emotional core. The 10 of Wands is someone who feels like they've been on a long and arduous journey. This person has a yak. They're in the middle of what looks like this kind of desert plains land. And it's been a hard journey. They're not even getting to sit on the yak. Instead, they have to walk beside it because they have so much baggage, so much responsibility. Maybe you've been really weighed down by heavy family responsibility, or again, maybe difficulties within this area of your life, or you felt maybe some sense of feeling kind of ungrounded within your home area. So there's something about that that has, again, maybe felt like grieving or like a loss, or like maybe I'm not where I want to be emotionally. I'm not as stable as I'd like to be. And so I think you've just been on this long journey like that. And now you're finally getting to the point of the Star where you're going to turn a corner now and start to see a new way of living, a new possibility, the sun coming up after the dark night, and starting to feel like you have clarity, starting to feel like you have hope, that there is a renewal in this area of your life. If you went through particular like losses within your family, I can see you starting to feel like you are healing from that now, and you're no longer in this place of being so heavy and weighed down. If you have felt a lack of security or a lack of stability, again, emotionally or financially or within the home and your rootedness, I can see you feeling like there is some kind of resource coming to you, some kind of opportunity coming to you that is going to offer you that ability to feel like you can finally get your head above ground or above water, whatever, it doesn't matter. You've been drowning in some capacity, and I feel like you're finally going to get that sip of air, and you're going to be able to regain your strength, your spiritual strength. I feel like our souls get tired. They get very tired. And the Queen of Pentacles is somebody who feels like they are having a very stable household. This is exactly what I was speaking to. Being able to be in a place where you're not too tired to clean your house, where you feel like you're not, like maybe you're a really busy mom and you're doing everything for everybody else, and it's like you get your crumbs at the end of the day. That's changing. Something about this is you're finally going to get the resources that you need, the stability that you need, the capacity to take care of yourself better. This is a stable, happy, financially successful home, and a person who's very good at balancing their work and their life. And so again, if you've been really like just soul level exhausted, I see you giving back to yourself, and nature might play a big role in this. You can see how much green is on this card. I feel like you guys might be going outside more, getting more sunshine, and just taking care of your soul in that way. But also, again, of course, there could be some financial opportunities that come to you or stabilize, especially over these next few years. What else, Spirit, is coming through with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction? The Six of Cups. Yeah, so there's a lot here going on around family, around children, around your past. And I think there's going to be a lot of healing around past events that have happened within the family, or even like a resurrection of childhood dreams, or like a greater sense of hope. Or maybe there is some healing around issues with children, if that's been a thing going on for you guys. But I can definitely see something around the past being brought back up for you in a positive light. So it's like you're letting go of the negativity around it, or a past dream is resurfacing for you to engage in, or you are returning to almost like this kind of childlike innocence, or maybe your relationship with your children are improving, those kinds of things. Maybe you decide to have children, and it completely changes your life. But I get the sense that you're not going to be as drained. So whatever this is something that's going to fill up your cup. You know, children aren't always known to not drain you, right? It's kind of the opposite. But there's something about this that's going to be very fulfilling. And yeah, very stabilizing. The Justice is you give what you get kind of thing. Maybe you've been really giving from an empty well. Maybe you've been feeling like, I keep trying to move something forward. I keep trying to stabilize something. I keep trying to better this relationship. I keep trying to make money. I keep trying to put myself out there, or heal this thing, or move on from this thing. And it's like, I'm not getting the results that I'm putting out. And it's, again, that feeling of like being in the desert, carrying all this weight, carrying all this baggage. And I finally feel like something is going to shift in a major way for you guys with the Justice card. Things are going to start responding to your efforts. It's a law of karma. So things are going to be working out better. What I think, honestly, this is a soul level exhaustion that simply means that you need to heal your heart. Because I'm like, oh, we have to approach this differently. Most groups have been like, you're viewing something differently. You're changing your approach to something. But I am really not getting that for you guys. I almost feel like the only thing that you are needing to really focus on is replenishing your soul and giving back to your body, to your mind, saving money, taking care of yourself, healing yourself. Like it feels more so like believing in life again and pouring back into yourself again, rather than needing to completely change your perspective on something. I feel like it's more so healing. But is there any other messages like that, Spirit? So we have the Temperance and the High Priestess. Absolutely. Talk about healing. The Temperance card is absolutely one. It's also, these are cards of like balance, of rest. I think the High Priestess, these can both be quite like psychic cards, especially together. So there's something about this where I think you're really awakening to a lot more of like your feminine yin energy. And I think that through your rest and replenishment and healing, you're going to be accessing higher divine insights. I still think that you're going to go through a period of transition and uncertainty with Neptune next to your planetary ruler Saturn. But I do think that you are learning how to navigate that like lack of clarity without that feeling of despondency, because you're healing. I think that you're almost approaching it through your third eye instead. You're like, okay, I don't know exactly where this is going, but I have this strong feeling about this. And I feel like I'm engaging more with the mystery of life in a positive way and feeling quite peaceful in the moments of limbo, in the moments of uncertainty. With this Temperance, this is a card of moderation and patience. So not feeling like, oh, because I don't, like maybe you, like let's say you lost your job and you haven't found another one yet. Instead of freaking out about maybe not having money or not knowing what you're going to do next and not knowing how to spend your time, I see you guys really tapping into your psychic insights and being like, okay, I'm not quite there at the next step yet. It's coming soon and I feel it coming, and I'm going to trust that it's coming. I'm going to have faith that it's coming. And because of that, I can let go of this tension that I was holding when I was bracing for something negative or whatever, or feeling the lack. It's like, no, I can actually just melt and take advantage of this period and pocket of time in my life where I don't have a lot of stuff to do, or where I'm in that limbo, and I can come into my spiritual practice more. I can be creative more. I can rest more. Like there's something about this where it's like finding ease in these liminal phases, because there is a lot of gifts to be gained from these periods of time, these pockets of time. And if you are so busy focused on where you're headed next and what you don't have and all that, it distracts and takes away from this particular chapter of life that you are in. So this is very much like healing that feeling of almost like nervous tension, like the nervous system being quite activated and feeling unsafe. There's something about that that's healing, where I feel like you're going to feel, again, a lot safer. You're going to feel a lot more optimistic. And part of this is like coming from a divine place. It's not something that's logical. It's something that is felt, that is known, that is from faith itself. Ooh, the Lovers and the Sun. Some of you guys might be having some kind of love relationship enter into your life. If you are not already in a, marriage or a committed partnership, or, whatever you're open to, or like whatever you enjoy. This is something that's like you're finally getting some kind of answer to your prayer. It is coming, and I think you sense that it's coming. So for some of you, it is, again, meeting a special kind of partner. This could be a business partner. This could be a romantic partner. This could be a best friend. This could be some type of soulmate. And sometimes a soulmate is also a work opportunity or a place of living, or like something that fills a need where our soul is like reaching out and saying, I really want this kind of thing. And it meets you back in the kind of, maybe not the exact way you thought, but energetically has the same, like it meets the same needs as you were asking to be met. So it could always look different, but I feel like whatever this is, it's going to bring a lot of joy and happiness into your life. Maybe there's a new romantic cycle beginning for you guys because you are coming from a more healed place. You will have more love to give, more capacity to open up to in the world. So I think something really beautiful is about to come in for you guys that I think, again, is going to kind of like affirm the faith, the blind faith that you had in the universe. It's going to affirm it when you have that thing come to you and it's like illuminating with full clarity. This is what I felt was coming. This is why I held on to faith and hope and trust. I knew this was going to come. I knew this was going to fill that need in my life. So I just see a lot of awareness, illumination, clarity, soulmate connection of either like a job or a person or a place of living. So yeah, really major changes here. Any last messages for Capricorn spirit? Any last messages that I didn't get to mention? Okay. So I think that's a good place to end. I think that you guys just need to, keep your faith. And if you start to lose faith, it's probably because you're tired. It's probably because you need to find a way to nourish yourself with this Queen of Pentacles. Maybe it's getting a massage. Maybe it's walking in nature. Maybe it's drawing in the sand or building a sandcastle. Like, I don't know, whatever it is, it doesn't have to cost money, but it does have to fill up your soul. So really consider that at this time, what you can do to nourish yourself and have faith that something beautiful is around the corner. Because I do think a cycle of struggle is coming to an end, and it's not going to be immediate, and you need to trust the process of unfolding. So that's what I see for you, Capricorn. If that resonates with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. It really helps all of us here to know how this applies to specific people, so it can really start to draw other people to see how it's affecting them as well, and maybe ways they didn't realize. So again, please feel free to share that down below. Don't forget to support my channel by liking, commenting, subscribing, hyping, sharing, way too many things, but all of those are appreciated, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Aquarius rising and sun. So for you guys, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is taking place at 0 degrees of Aries in your 3rd house. So I definitely feel like some of you guys, Aquariuses, are going to have some major awakenings, especially when it comes to being a lot more psychic in your day-to-day lives, with Neptune moving into your 3rd and also conjunct your planetary ruler Saturn. I think that you guys are very much awakening to things. Maybe you are having some kind of creative ideas come to you. Maybe you are just getting these visions come to you in dreams, or this kind of sense of things that are going to be approaching you in your future, almost like a kind of prophetic nature. I could really see you guys opening up your crown chakra, your 3rd eye. I think that you're also going to be communicating in a way right now that is going to be universal. So there's something about maybe what you're going through or what you represent kind of to the world energetically, that it can inspire people to make certain changes to advance their lives. We do have Pluto in Aquarius. We're on the back of an Aquarius eclipse. So a lot of what you represent in your nature, Aquarius, is something that the world needs right now. So there's some kind of maybe message you need to share, or maybe just even energetically showing up in a certain way. We have something to gain from you right now, like almost like you're archetypally, it's your time to shine, your time to rise to the occasion right now for the world, especially once the North Node moves into your sign this summer. I think it's going to be like mid-July around when that happens. Like, it's really, really your time in the spotlight. The world needs Aquarius energy. And what is Aquarius energy? It's all about authenticity, unique expression, energy as well, being aware of like subtle energies, being ahead of the curve, all those things. So I feel like you guys are needing to really embrace your own unique ideas, embrace your divine downloads, your intuition, your insight, the things that you feel called to share. There's something special about that. With the Ace of Pentacles and the King of Swords coming out, yeah, I feel like there's something that you're going to have an idea for right now that really has the potential to take root. And with the King of Swords, this could just be an idea, or it could be something that you are going to end up like learning more about, like something that needs to like a seed that needs to be planted. This is definitely a seed, right, with the Ace of Pentacles. So it's something that you have to do and follow up on. But with the King of Swords, you might need to either teach about it, learn about it, talk about it more, dig into this kind of in a logical, conceptual place, and actually move things forward in the real realm with this. Oftentimes, Saturn, Neptune, or any kind of major aspect in the 3rd is some idea or concept coming to you that has legs. I do think that maybe, wherever Saturn Neptune is also represents like where we might have some change of perspective, like where we are recognizing that our previous way of thinking was not leading us to the results in our life that we're looking for. And I feel like there might have been something with you guys where your thought process with things was leading you to some kind of outcome that I think you're going to recognize now that you are not happy with. Maybe you have been thinking in a way that disempowers you or depresses you or makes you feel isolated, makes you feel different. That's kind of like the low vibration of Aquarius, is feeling like as a Saturn rule sign, feeling a little bit depressed, feeling like an outsider, feeling maybe uncertain of yourself, and feeling like you have to try to fit in to belong. Like, we want to really elevate past those like negative vibrations of Aquarius and embody a positive mix of Aries and Aquarius together, which is a very strong sense of identity and of self, and reflecting that through decisive and conscious decision making, where you're committing to something and you're feeling confident about the decisions that you are making at this time. And gosh, something started happening before your reading, and like Luna starts biting herself, and I was having tech issues, and there's loud noises outside. There's something, it just feels like the environmental noise is very distracting. So there's something about this like mental, this need to like to have mental clarity and focus. I really feel like you guys are needing to get, you're needing to get grounded mentally, because the outside world might cause so much noise internally that it can crowd out that sense of identity. It can crowd out that sense of decisiveness and clarity around what you need and what you want at this time. With the Knight of Wands, I feel like you guys have the potential to be, I was going to say enlightened, but also the Knight of Wands is like inspired action. It's passion. It's creativity. I feel like that is available to you guys, but the only way to get to that place where you have a wealth and abundance of energy and focus and ideas and clarity and taking action on those things, the only way to have capacity for that is with the Hermit card. I feel like the Hermit is saying that you need to make sure that you have time alone, or like time to rest, or time to make sure that you're really checking in with yourself. This feels like maybe a meditation practice, a journal practice, something to clear out that noise. Like, you know, like sleep clears the brain of whatever that chemical builds up throughout the day, and then you get really tired, and at night it like clears it away. So there's something like that where there might be like a lot of like static, you know, within the emotional and like spiritual field and mental field that meditation can clear away. If you just have that time alone, or maybe time in nature or whatever, you can clear away that outside disturbance to make sure that you're kind of zen from within. Because I think that you have the opportunity right now to be, to move some ideas forward that are going to be very foundational, not only for your life, but for society as a whole, to advance society in a very purposeful way. But if you get distracted by society itself and all these outside opinions and noise and everything, it can drown out that inner light that you are meant to bring to the forefront to lead us right now within this cultural revolution. You guys are meant to be the forerunners of this, but you can't get bogged down by the outside noise, right? It's like if you're a celebrity and you are, or an artist, and you're making a ton of music or works, you can't read all these reviews and let the critics come in and get inside of your head when you're sitting down to try to write those lyrics or those songs or, you know, those books, because it will crowd out all of that inner spark, all of that divine intuition. It will snuff it all out in a second because of that noise pollution. And I feel like that's why I see with the Devil card, you might have in the past gotten really wrapped up into limiting beliefs and fears and all of this stuff from outside noise. And I actually think that not even a lot of this is truly yours. It could be in the sense that if you compare yourself to someone else, like that is your thought. But there's a lot of this like imposed upon us from the outside world. You know, society tells us that we're supposed to look a certain way or have certain things by a certain period of time. And I feel like with the Devil card, you might have had like all these limiting beliefs or these unhealthy like self-concepts thrust upon you from this noise. And I feel like you guys are really meant to be disentangling yourself from that. And with the Page of Swords, I think that you just have such unique ideas. You have your own voice, you have your own perspective, you have your own way of doing something to the beat of your own drum. And you're meant to come back to this kind of clarity of purpose, this clarity of intention, this clarity of personal identity and who you are and what you want, and have like a pure voice, unadulterated by the outside world, that you can put down on paper or put out in whatever way. Like, if it depends on what you want to do. But yeah, there's something about this with the Page of Swords where you're supposed to be kind of unencumbered. And oftentimes we get to this place by being a curious student. So this could, again, I saw that with the King of Swords too. This could be a time where you are meant to be like learning more and reading and consciously taking in information from the outside world rather than allowing everything in unfiltered to disturb us, where we're reading toxic comments and we're getting stressed about this online and that or whatever. It's like you guys are really meant to be using your brain in a very conscious and healthy and pure way to seek the things that you're interested about, to learn more about them, to ask good questions about them, and to develop your own thought process around them so that you can then build something with that is, again, going to benefit the world. But you won't be able to do that if you get caught in the noise. So this is, again, very, very important to clear the system on a spiritual level, energetic, emotional level, all those things. You can kind of feel when, again, things start to build up and cloud your judgment. And you need to come back to your opinion, your voice, your idea of how things should be. Anything else, Spirit, for my Aquarius? Again, this is important for the collective level, because without your insights that you're going to develop in this process, the universe is really going to have something missing with this Five of Pentacles. Without your like unique take on something that you will develop as a result of carving out this like space to like an alcove almost, to like have this protection from the outside world to go and study and like write down your ideas and whatever it is. I mean, it doesn't have to be so literal, but there's something about that. It's like, we're going to be missing that from you, from like the world is going to need that from you. And so there is going to be some kind of lack if you don't put your voice out there in some way. But before you can do that, you need to first figure out what it is that you even have to say, what is unique about your own identity and perspective on things. And that means that, again, you can't just like adopt what other people say at face value. Yes, we're supposed to interact with it and learn from it, but also add our own take. Anything else, Spirit, for my Aquarius? Yeah, I think that's the biggest message, honestly, for you guys, is that this is something very personal, but the personal becomes part of the collective, because without your unique take, it's going to be hard for us to move forward into the way that we're meant to as a society right now. With the North Node moving into your sign this summer, we need your visions, we need your take, we need your ideas, all those things. And so if at times you get caught up in like, no one cares about this, like it doesn't matter, it does matter. It really does matter. And if you don't protect with a sort of defensiveness and a sword of cutting away, if you don't protect that time to like go in and incubate your own ideas and learn and study and explore in a healthy way with the right conscious information you feel is valid to learn from and play with. If you don't do that, then it's going to all get drowned out with all this noise and distractions. So anyway, that's what I see for your Aquarius. I hope that this is helpful. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction is about wielding your mind like a tool, like a weapon, in a very positive direction for society. So if you enjoy this, if it resonates, let me know in the comments down below how it relates to your life. I am trying to grow my channel, so if you want to support that, please do like, comment, subscribe, hype the video, share with a friend, anything like that. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, and last but never least, we have Pisces rising and sun. So the Saturn-Neptune conjunction on February 20th is taking place at 0 Aries in your second house of finances, values, and self-worth. This is a major deal, you guys, and this is a cycle that is emerging. So we're basically having a fresh start in this area of our life. It is going to take some time to build up, and we are going to basically have a complete reset of the way that we approach things. So there's something about maybe your approach to what you were prioritizing, what you were valuing. Also things about your self-concept, with this Aries being in the second house, like how you felt, like how you valued your own worth about yourself and how you view things about yourself could totally shift at this point in time. Maybe you felt like you have been also spending money in ways that don't align with your value or your priorities, or spending your time on things that you want to redistribute to something that feels more meaningful. So there's some kind of alignment here where we're waking up parts of our soul and we're recognizing that some previous way of doing things wasn't going to work, wasn't going to fulfill us as much on a deep soul level. And we're starting to, again, kind of align our lives with that in a very like physical sense. Like I spend my time during the day on this, or I spend my money on this, or I spend, like I reorganize my material reality to fit this thing in it. And I see with the Nine of Cups and Ace of Cups, some of you guys might have some kind of wish fulfillment coming your way, potentially about a relationship. If you guys have been, struggling with relationships, we have Saturn and Neptune finally moving out of your sign. If that has been a problem for you in the past, I can see you guys finally getting into a place where you have built yourself up enough. You have worked on maybe things surrounding, personal issues in your life where you've needed to tackle certain things, again, to kind of build, like take away certain things that maybe didn't necessarily fit who you are anymore. And now I can see you guys entering into a phase where you can build upon this. So maybe some of you guys moved, maybe some of you guys lost friends, maybe some of you guys went through a divorce over these past few years. And now that Saturn and Neptune have finally moved into Aries, now you can again build or attract something that will add to this next phase of life. This makes a lot of sense being in the second house, because this is the house of where we start to, like, it's the house of ownership, or where we start to accumulate things that help us kind of define who we are, like our sense of style, like the clothes that you wear or the things that you own. They really speak to who you are as a person. And again, they speak to your priorities and what you value, even aesthetically. This is deeper than that, but with the Ace of Cups and the Nine of Cups, there's some kind of wish fulfillment here where you guys are going to be attracting maybe people or things or circumstances into your life that, again, feel very emotionally aligned with you, very fulfilling for you. And again, I think it's because you were willing to walk away from stuff in this previous cycle. And now that you've done that, you've created space for these aligned kind of relationships and things to arrive. If some of you guys have been struggling financially, this could also indicate being able to make money from a more soul-aligned way, or maybe to help people with your money or support the world through your resources of time and energy. So something like that going on, and I think that's going to give back to you as much as it gives to the world. What else, Spirit, is a Saturn-Neptune conjunction in the second about? We have the Ten of Pentacles, the Judgment card. The Ten of Pentacles coming out a lot. We have the Queen of Wands. That's the first time it came out. King of Pentacles and the King of Cups. Okay, so the Ten of Pentacles and the Judgment card. Yeah, I really feel like you guys are going to be looking at things through like more scrutiny, not in a negative way, but like you're going to have this kind of soul awakening, and you're really going to start looking at maybe some kind of traditional structures and foundations of your life, especially around the things that you own or the things that you have used as a marker of stability, or again, put your money and time and energy into. You're going to look at that through new eyes and ask, does this elevate my life? Does this align with my soul? Does this make sense for me? Maybe for some of you, you decide to move because you're like, this doesn't make sense. Or you decide to change jobs or change the way that you make money. Or maybe you decide to invest your time and energy into certain causes or people or things that feel like they build up some kind of foundation. The Judgment, Ten of Pentacles can also indicate, this is kind of like a random message, but if you felt like they've had this kind of disconnect from your family, or like if you felt like judged by your family or something like that, if you felt unsupported in some kind of way, I also feel like part of what you're getting in this new cycle is some type of healing from that, where you're finally able to have some kind of like an emotional elevation and release with the Nine of Cups and Ace of Cups. And I don't know what you're doing differently for this, but I think it might have something to do with this second house of being related to self-worth. So maybe if people or family members, again, have not supported you in the past or have kind of hurt you, maybe there's something here where you're recognizing that you can build that self-worth from within, or you can like heal and let go of that past feeling of being kind of like judged or not accepted. That's not going to be relevant for everybody. But if there has been some kind of like issue with the family where you felt held back by maybe the family that you were in or something like that, or even by the job that you were in, or by a tradition that you were a part of, or by something from your past, especially again related to family, if you have felt weighed down by any of that, I really see you guys like having some kind of awakening from that and moving past that in this new cycle. We have the Queen of Wands, the King of Pentacles, and the King of Cups. So I feel like part of who you're entering into in this new era is somebody who's very confident. Maybe with the Queen of Wands, you're starting to learn how to express yourself outwardly more. Maybe you are learning how to take up more space. This is somebody who is creative. This is somebody who is spiritual, who really trusts their intuition, their instincts. They're loud, they're confident. They're also full of like their physical body. They're quite like confident in their sex appeal. They're confident in the vibes that they give out, in the way that they can light up a room, what they have to really offer the world. So I really feel like you guys are going to be growing a lot in that sense. And I also think with the King of Pentacles, you're going to be growing in terms of like your business sense or your financial sense or your stability in this way. So if there's some kind of facet of that, like material part of your life, I really feel like that's also growing. And then you're also having the King of Cups. So this is like a lot of emotional maturity, feeling very at peace with yourself, having good relationships, very stable, healthy relationships with good communication, good emotional expression, good skills through therapy and using your intuition as well and really trusting that. So I just feel like you guys are like really embracing a higher level on all fronts. Really, this just seems like a very holistic reading almost. And again, I think it's because you've done so much work after having Saturn and Neptune in your sign for years. So there's something going on here where you're being able to like leave behind maybe an old notion of who you were. Again, I think a lot like exited your life in that era. And now again, you're in this building phase and you're like, actually, I am hot. I am successful. I am going to do this. Even if it's not all here right now, I feel like your wishes are going to start coming true. The universe is going to start providing more for you instead of taking it away. What else do we have for Pisces spirit? What kind of disillusionment are they leaving with the Knight of Pentacles and the Empress? Yeah, you might have felt like things in life were available to others, or they moved very slowly if you did want something. I feel like what's happening now is you're starting to see that there are resources financially out there for you, that things are stabilizing. So I don't know, I feel like maybe where it felt like everybody else gets it, or the things that I want are so slow, the things are always out of reach. Like I'm getting the sense that you guys are finally getting those needs met, especially financially if that's been an issue for you. But again, it doesn't just have to be financial. It looks like there's quite a lot of other things going on here with the cups and the wands. So I think it's way more than financial for you guys. It's interesting because your reading feels the most general. Is there a specific message for Pisces spirit? So we have the Six of Wands. Yeah, I feel like a lot of your message is like take up more space, be more proud of who you are, be more confident out in the world with like your creativity or your ideas, like really put your heart on the line in some way, because I think that's going to pay off with the Ace of Cups and Nine of Cups. Again, some kind of wish could come and be fulfilling for you. With the Six of Wands, you could start to finally feel like you're getting some kind of like recognition, but I almost feel like it's because you first see it in yourself. You're like, actually, I'm really good at this. And then people start saying, oh, you're really good at that. Did you know that? And you're like, yeah, I actually just decided that I'm good at that. And now finally people are recognizing it. So it's something about that where you're able to have, again, like more presence, more confidence, more, I feel like you have a greater capacity to hold things as well. Like a lot of what you went through in this previous cycle, I think developed a lot of this kind of resilience and this strength. And now you have like, almost like if your arms grew and you like went to the grocery store and you could only carry stuff in your arms, it's like you could carry more now. You could take more with you because through those life experiences, you were able to build up more capacity to hold more of the abundance, more of the blessings. And I think a big part of that is you finally like opening up to the fact that good things can come to you now, that wishes can be fulfilled, that you're worthy, that you deserve it. And for some of you, it'll be money, but for so many of you, it's way, way more than that. And I would say for most of you, it's actually way more than that. What else, Spirit? What's a specific message for Pisces? We have The Three of Swords and Four of Swords. Yeah, I finally feel like your heart gets a rest. If you've been having your heart dragged through the mud behind you, if you've had breakups, if you've had, maybe financial losses or spiritual existential questions, if you've had physical pain, I really, 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 really feel like you guys are finally getting a rest. That is definitely the feeling of Saturn moving out of your sign, especially, but also Neptune moving into a sign. Like, your planetary ruler in modern astrology is Neptune. In traditional astrology, it's Jupiter. But with your planetary ruler moving out of its home sign of Pisces, I feel like you're finally getting a little bit of a breather, because you would think like a planet being its home sign is always a good thing. I would say it's a good thing, but sometimes it's like too much of a good thing. It's like too much Piscean. And I think that you've been going through so much of this like period of loss and, these spiritual influences that make you like everything kind of gets like, not destroyed. Like, what's the word? Like, dismantled in your life during Pisces season. That's kind of the whole point of Neptune and Pisces, is to dismantle the notion of something or the structure or the foundation of something. And it's like you've been going through that. You've been doing so much of this soul searching and feeling maybe lost, or at times like just so Piscean, that now that Neptune is finally in Aries, it's almost like you guys can start to be proactive, and you don't have to like focus on much around like healing and resting and overcoming cycles and patterns. Like, I'm getting the sense that you guys are in an extroverted phase now. You guys are able to act, you're able to do, you're able to produce, you're able to gain the benefits of all the things that you had to previously lose in the old cycle. Now you can again build that back up. And it just feels like there's no more of this feeling of being really bogged down and having to try so hard to like barely move forward. I feel like things are really going to start picking up momentum in a big way, especially when you allow yourself to receive the abundance that the world wants to give you. And when you feel worthy of that by showing the world that you want to pour into yourself. This might be pouring into your appearance, taking more time to take care of your hair, your nails, to shower well, to rest well, to eat well, to make sure that you have time to meditate or to get a massage, like whatever this is. It's like, give back to yourself to show the world that you feel worthy, and you will start to build up that muscle of confidence. And I really feel like resources are going to be provided for you, opportunities, wishes fulfilled, and you're going to get this recognition, and you're going to be like, things are finally going to be flowing for you in a way that that doesn't make you again feel like you have to be in this healing cycle and analyzing. And no, it's like now you can apply your spiritual lessons and your spiritual practices to like get stuff moving in your life in this really profound way. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Pisces. I think that's all the messages for you. I hope that resonates. If it does, let me know in the comments down below. That's always super helpful to hear how it applies to you. Don't forget to also support my channel. I am trying to grow this year. You could like the video, subscribe, hype it up, comment, share it with your friends. Anything like that is greatly appreciated. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.